Much for taking action. Welcome everybody to episode 200. Nick, you were at the event. How was it?
Yeah, this event probably outdo any event ever regarding like a company showcasing something. They went all out. It was you were like immersed in Warner Brothers studio, so cities all around you. At every corner, there's drinks, food, and 30 acres. So like you could walk around this whole like there's four different cities you could walk to and through. And as you're walking, to the right of you are all these Cybercabs and Model Ys driving without a driver. Um, the Cybercab, people getting in and out, just seeing it operate as like you would in a city is kind of mind blowing. You had Optimus walking around, talking to you, moving around, dancing, playing rock, paper, scissors. You're just like immersed in the future. Seeing the prototypes of, uh, I forget what Elon calls it, like the new big bus. Uh, I forget the name, but um, yeah,
Robovan. All right.
Robovan.
Very good. Thank you very much. Let's see. We have Omar on the in the listener mode as well. I'm gonna have to move someone down. Sorry, everybody. This is gonna be a pretty popular event. Everybody's here to hear about Tesla's events, the backstage takeaways from the event. So Omar is here. He's gonna and Nick just gave us an overview of what it was like to be part of the event. Things that you cannot see at these live streams. We're going to get Omar first to give us the color. Omar, how was the event? How did it feel? Can you give us some backstage takeaways?
Yeah, wow. I think it was probably one of the best parties Tesla's ever thrown. I think that it was, everyone there was just blown away. Perhaps a lot of that didn't come through over the live stream, but we got to experience Tesla's vision of the future firsthand. So you come into this Warner Brothers studio lot, it looks like a real city, right? Because they have all these facade buildings. And after the presentation, you just see Model Ys driving around without a driver. You see the all new Cybercab, which I love. It looks like a little Cybertruck car. You see the all new Cybercab just driving around, not only without a driver, but without steering wheels and pedals. I got to ride in a Cybercab. And then there's just Optimus walking around, talking to people. There were some Optimuses up in this little gazebo in the center dancing all night autonomously. And there was an Optimus bartender serving drinks. Just being able to look at that Optimus hardware up close for the first time. Just look at the hardware on that thing, the range of human like movements it's able to replicate. It was like, wow, this thing can really do a lot. It's very dexterous. So the potential there is incredible. A lot of people were saying, well, some of these robots look like they're teleoperated. And I mean, it's just kind of funny. I mean, even if it's teleoperated in some cases, some of them were, some of them weren't. The ones that were dancing had kind of a programmed routine in. But of course, just stabilizing themselves and everything is something you have to do dynamically. You can't just kind of hard code that. So the fact that they were able to stay standing, dance, we did see one of them fall over that was walking around, but they kind of very quickly, picked it up, distracted everyone. But for the most part, they were very stable. Just incredible hardware. The team looking at the new hands there. Um, I shook Optimus's hand a little bit when it made me a drink, and th- I don't think Elon's exaggerating. This really is going to be, I think, the biggest product ever. So
Yeah,
just seeing that vision. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I saw some of the videos that you posted, especially the one you posted where the Optimus makes you a drink and your interaction with it. That one got like 3-4 million views, right, Omar?
Yeah, people are really excited about the Optimus. I mean, there's so many use cases for this. It's just insane. And the hardware team, I mean, it is just, you know, seeing a bunch of Optimus, not just one Optimus, but a bunch of Optimus walking around the city, working at the bar, talking to you, all while driverless Teslas drive by. And taking my first driverless Tesla ride last night, it was really something. It was like, okay, this is the world Tesla's trying to build with robot cars and robots around. And I have to say, the biggest surprise of the night was the Robovan, or the Robovan, as
All
Elon
right.
pronounced it.
We're going to get to that. We have a lot of speakers and also a lot of people requesting to speak. If you're requesting to speak, please be patient. I will get to you. And I'm especially interested in people who are at the event and who can share insights that we weren't able to see in the live stream. So let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy?
I wasn't at the event, but I am bearish on Tesla today, and we can talk about this later because I know everybody wants to get people who were at the event.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Neil. Neil, go ahead. Nathan, my bad. Nathan.
Yeah, I was at the event. Yeah, the two things I'd like to mention. There was so much demand for getting a ride in the Cybercab that they couldn't meet all that demand. People had to be turned away. They shut down at midnight, and the staff were really flustered. The people would not ride in the Model Y, the autonomous Model Y, because I don't know why, but it wasn't interesting to me because to ride in the Model Y because I already do this right now with
Okay.
FSD. I'm a
Nathan, your
passenger.
sound quality is a little low. But Omar, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Nathan says there was a lot of demand, lots of people waiting in line, and they couldn't get in. Tesla couldn't meet all of the demand to get into the Cybercab. And we actually have a question on YouTube live chat as well from Chris. Chris asked, what was in-car experience like in the Cybercab?
Yeah, I mean, the Cybercab is amazing. I love the design, but the ride experience was that there were essentially three different cities. So there was New York, there was Metropolis, and there was Westworld. So each of these places had, you could walk between them, obviously, but each of these places had a station where you could go get in line and get in the car. And once you got in the car, you could tap whether you want, where you wanted to go. I want to go to Metropolis. I want to go to Westworld. And the car would just drive you there without a driver. So the line was obviously very long. Everybody wants to take their first driverless ride in a Tesla. But because they didn't have enough Cybercabs, they had driverless Model Ys in there too. So it's kind of just whatever car pops up when you get to the front of the line, you have to get in. And obviously everybody was saying, oh, I don't want the Model Y, I want the Cybercab. So they were kind of having to tell people like, hey, you know, um, you got to get in or we're sending you to the back of the line. So some people were like, I got to get in the line again if I don't get a Cybercab because everyone wanted the Cybercab. But luckily, when I was in the line, a couple people from the autopilot team showed up. They're like, oh, hey, are you Omar? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, I'm the person who's like pushing those builds to you. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you guys so much. You guys have been doing amazing work. I can't wait to, take my first driverless ride. I hope I get a Cybercab. And they said, you know what? Let me go talk to them, put in a good word for you. We'll get you in a Cybercab. And so, yeah, I took my first driverless Tesla ride in a Cybercab. Tesla killed it on their vision for what this driverless vehicle with no controls looks like. What they've managed to do here is make a small, simple vehicle priced under 30,000 on it. I honestly think they could get it to 25,000 based on what I've seen. It's just a very simple vehicle. No glass roof, no frills, just simple. Yet they've taken a smaller vehicle and they've made it more comfortable than even a large Chevy Suburban because you have so much legroom without any steering wheel or pedals with only one row of seats that they've actually taken a small vehicle and made it feel more comfortable than a bigger vehicle, which is really kind of an incredible feat. And then a lot of people were saying, oh, well, okay, it's only a two-door. But I think that two-door was such an important use case to focus on because most rideshare are one or two rides. And what we didn't see is, okay, they're going to actually go up to 20 people on the high end. And of course, you've got the Model 3 and Y, which are going to be launching unsupervised FSD first to handle the 2 to 5 people. So really, when you look across their product lineup, they've got a number of use cases for all their different vehicle models in terms of passenger occupancy.
Very good. Thank you very much, Omar, for all that information. This is amazing. I mean, Tesla Live brings backstage access to thousands of people. And it's because of our sponsors, because of our supporters, subscribers, speakers, and everybody else who like on YouTube. We just crossed 100 likes on YouTube. So if you can't do any of that stuff, you can go up to the top of your screens and like the space so we can bring more episodes like this to you. And I'm going to read a couple of audio ads for our sponsors. Very appreciative of them. And in the meantime, I would really appreciate it if people in the X space could please go up to the top of our screens, click through the YouTube link, go to the live stream and like the video. It only takes 2 seconds and it really helps us out. Joa, Tesla Live is sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. And because you're part of the Tesla Live community, Joa is hooking you up. Use code TSLA Live at the checkout for a special discount. And Paymore. Paymore buys, sells, trades, and recycles electronics. And because Paymore believes the best technology doesn't have to come at the cost of our planet or your wallet. Join the Paymore revolution. Visit paymore.com. Thank you very much, everybody, for those of you who took action to support Tesla Live. And we have Yoda on the speaker board. Yoda would like to say a word for his sponsors today.
Thank you to my beloved sponsors for helping long-term investors like me and others create generational wealth. Please use the code TSLA today for a huge discount from my sponsors. Thank you.
Yes, I love it. Yoda, what did you think of the event? Were you at the event? Did you get a chance to watch it on the live stream? What were your impressions?
Yoda was there. I mean, I was wearing my TSMC cap. I was so close to Kathy Woods that I was gonna throw the hat to her and get her to notice TSMC. But let's talk about the Cybercab. I think what was really underappreciated yesterday is that the Model Ys were driving themselves. I know no one wanted to ride in that, and myself included. I wanted to ride in a Cybercab, which I did. But the real big story for the immediate future is that the existing fleet will be autonomous, starting with those 2 states that Elon mentioned.
Let's dig into that. There's a lot of skeptical voices about that, actually. Omar Yoda says, last night's event proved or indicated, let's say, that the existing fleet will be robotaxiable. Elon also mentioned it on stage that starting next year, Model 3s and Model Ys will be added to an unsupervised network in Texas and California. In your mind, did last night's event increase the odds of that happening?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny when you think about why people didn't want to ride the Model Y. I talked to them, and one guy said, "Well, I have a Model Y. As a matter of fact, FSD drove me here from my house without an intervention. So why is it really that special to see it drive without a driver? I've seen that with Smart Summon, right?" So I think really showing that this isn't just about the Cybercab, which is, at least a year, 12, 18, 24 months away. This is going to run on existing hardware for vehicles that they're producing today. He confirmed that at the event. And when they launch their unsupervised service, they're going to launch it with Model 3 and Y and Cybertruck that exist today, not the Cybercab. So they're really sticking to that vision they outlined at Autonomy Day. Now, critics will say, well, Elon says they're going to launch unsupervised FSD next year, every year. And they're not wrong, right? So maybe we have unsupervised FSD next year. Maybe it takes 2026 if things don't go well. But I think they could launch a unsupervised service in California and Texas next year. You just track the rate of miles per intervention. If you just assume there's as much of an increase this year as last year, yeah, they start to be able to do it in specific areas. And they've sort of outlined a plan here where they're rolling it out to these 2 states. Right now, the regulatory regime is all state state government rather than federal government. Maybe that could change, but they're at least outlining a plan here. Okay, it may not work as well in Virginia or Wisconsin, but in certain areas of California and Texas where we've made it work really well, we're going to actually launch an unsupervised service there. So that's really exciting. They must be preparing the rideshare service and everything in the Tesla app to make that happen. And I think they really will do it, whether it's 2025 or 2026. Starting to hear plans about unsupervised FSD, and more than that, to actually sit in a car with unsupervised FSD and try it for yourself. I think it's just, I'm not necessarily taking it to the bank that it's going to happen in 2025, but just to get some color on how they plan to roll it out. California and Texas as the first markets is certainly interesting.
Okay, very good. Let's go to Uzi and then Yoda. And I see Machine in the crowd. If you could please come up, I have some questions for him. Uzi?
Yeah, I was thinking about the event last night, and I sent in our chat like 90% of.
Can you guys hear Uzi?
Oh, it's just you. It's embarrassing.
I'll be right back.
Well, I was saying like 90% of the event was, I don't want to say noise in a negative connotation, but it wasn't material. I think the only material thing was California and Texas Robotaxi in 2025. I'm somewhat surprised they didn't readdress the app. Thought the app would have a little bit more relevance to the future. But even if it is end of year 2025 and Robotaxi production starts beginning of year 2026, that's pretty bullish. I just think, I want to get too overwhelmed with the stock not performing.
Okay. Did you have any specific technical insights from the event, Uzi?
Honestly, it wasn't much except for Optimus to look at in a technical sense. But
okay. So what was your technical insights looking at Optimus?
Well, it seems overwhelmingly there's a consensus that there was either pre-programmed movements with the dance or teleoperated, which at first I was a little butthurt about, but then I thought about it more, and I think the takeaway is the dexterity and the movement is impressive, and I've always argued that the brain will be the hardest part to implement. So I'm not
great.
really
Thank
concerned.
You. I'm going to go to Omar in a second, and we had a really good question in the replies. The question, Omar, for you is, since you've been in the Cybercab, did anyone check to see what version of FSD was installed in the Cybercab or the Model Y?
The software on the Cybercab didn't have a traditional software version number or controls that I could go to. It was sort of a purpose-built interface where you had games, movies, that type of thing. So it didn't have a software version on it. I don't know if anyone checked in the Model Y. I think it also had a sort of purpose-built experience around that, not the normal Tesla UI. But I was going to say something on the teleoperation of the robot.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think a lot of bears are sort of pounding the table on this and saying, oh, well, some of these things were teleoperated, right? And, the dance was obviously pre-programmed to some extent. Like I said, the stabilization of the bot is something that can't be just sort of pre-programmed in, but obviously it wasn't coming up with these dance moves on the fly. They kind of probably had somebody capture the dance moves and then play them. So I think really the showcase here is the hardware. And the robot can actually do these things autonomously as well. It can actually autonomously, pour a drink. It can autonomously walk around, do rock, paper, scissors. But when you have it, walking around a crowd, it is extremely ambitious to have this robot just walking around the crowd. And there was like a team of bot engineers around every bot, like making sure this thing doesn't fall over and hurt somebody, right? So, to just kind of let the autonomous model go walk around and fall on its face and knock someone over in like a crowd of people is not really what you want to do for safety reasons. So that's kind of why they did it. And it's kind of funny at an event where they're now showing off driverless Teslas for the first time, unsupervised FSD. And everyone said, oh, FSD is just supervised. It's never going to be driverless. And now we're literally seeing driverless Teslas, and they've pivoted to, well, the Optimus is still supervised. It can't do it fully autonomously yet. Do you have any doubt after seeing them automate the entire driving task that they're also going to be able to automate a lot of these tasks Optimus is doing? Of course they are. I mean, duh, right? Furthermore, Optimus teleoperated, Optimus supervised, if you want to call it that. I think there's an enormous market. I mean, think about like the bomb squad, right? When you need to defuse a bomb, do you want to send a human, or would you want to send Optimus? You probably want to send a teleoperated Optimus,
Yeah.
right? Think about when I mean, wouldn't you love to have an Optimus on the moon or on Mars and
Yeah.
be able to just kind of virtual in, and these kinds of use cases I think are going to be huge.
Absolutely. We have a great question from Drew Soul in YouTube live chat. Drew is an excellent sporter of the space, exemplary, and he asks, "Did you see any McDonald's burgers?"
Any what?
McDonald's burgers or fries at the event.
Yeah. When Optimus wasn't looking, I saw him eat a McChicken.
So the rumors were true. Okay, let's go to Tesla Yoda. While
I have
Tesla,
a-
go ahead, Tesla.
yeah, I have a message for all men. Okay, there were like maybe 2% of the crowd were women yesterday, and I could see in their eyes they all wanted to take an Optimus home, a better version of a man. I'm not joking. This is gonna happen.
Yeah, I did notice that too. In the videos I was seeing, it was 99% male. I think I saw one female. And, I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon, honestly, just because this is a highly technology oriented company. And, just generally speaking, men are more early adopters of technology. And especially with politics getting involved in everything nowadays, it's a whole little layer. Jeffrey Jones just super chatted $5 and asks, Omar, what was the additional thing that was added to the front of the taxi that Elon said was going to be added when shifting the event to October? That's a great question.
Well, they redesigned the front. It looks really nice, honestly. I love the look of it. It kind of looks like a smaller Cybertruck. So I don't know what the front looked like before, but this is the new redesign that they did. I think the design team knocked it out of the park with the Cybercab design. It's a low cost car that still looks like a aesthetically pleasing Tesla. I mean, compare showing up to a Waymo looking like, you just showed up on the short bus to school, wearing a dunce cap, LiDAR hat, and showing up in one of these cyber cabs and having doors that open up like you're a multimillionaire, right? And I think the doors are so interesting because they can open for you, which is great for an autonomous car. But why do people hate these sort of butterfly doors? Well, because of parking. Well, this thing doesn't need to park. So I think it was a really great choice, and it'll just make getting in and out really easy.
Okay, great. We have a couple of hands, a good number of viewers on YouTube, but we are lagging on the number of likes. Okay, so we have 5 minutes to get to 250. We're right now at 150. If everyone in the X space right now did it, we'd be on track to our reach or goal of 1,000 likes this episode. So let's get to 250 in 5 minutes. Otherwise, we're going to take a pause to get there. Let's go to Yoda next, and I'm still trying to get Machine up here.
Yeah, just a little technical note. Just because I've spent so much time with the different FSD iterations, this one felt very familiar, but it was a lot smoother. Now, albeit we were driving fairly slow, but I would say this is probably around 3 months, maybe a couple iterations ahead, maybe like a version 13. Omar, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
This event wasn't for investors. It wasn't for people who hate Tesla and, we're looking for, it wasn't for Gordon Johnson. this event was for my two lesbian friends. One of them who has a Model 3 were texting me and said, "Oh my god, these look so cool. I want that robot. Hey, maybe we could get that Cybercab for my girlfriend. Oh, we need that Robovan." Ordinary people. They presented their vision of the future to ordinary people. And that vision is not just about these future products, it's about the products they're selling today. I mean, you look at the offers like, hey, buy a car with FSD and get 0% APR financing. That's what this event was about. It's about presenting this new vision of Tesla's future. I mean, for most of Tesla's history, their vision of the future has been about all cars being electric. That's no longer a bold vision of the future. That's just called California. You just walk out on the street, there's a ton of electric cars now, more every year. And so now this vision of the future they've presented where Optimists are walking around doing jobs, you have driverless cars taking you around. Manually driven cars are their entire business today, but we didn't see any manually driven cars last night. We saw robots without manual driving controls. So I think, investors who were hoping for, and, we plan to launch in Phoenix and, regulatory approval. This wasn't about that. This was
Yeah,
about
but Omar,
showing.
there is, that's true. But there is a bit of a, there's some credence to the critique right now that it was lacking details. So some people expected, like this event had less details than the Autonomy Day in 2019 when it comes to the business model. What do you say to those people? And then I'm going to go to a couple of questions from YouTube live chat.
Well, I mean, they've kind of laid out those details in the Autonomy Day. This was really a product unveil. It was like, hey, look at what we've designed. Come sit in the vehicle, come ride in the vehicle. It wasn't necessarily about laying out details about their business model. And I mean, I tried to explain this to people. People were saying, oh, they're going to launch a Robotaxi service. Oh, they're going to, spell out their business model. They're going to give a tech talk. It wasn't any of those things. This was a design team event. They're showing us new vehicles that they want to build. They're showing us their vision of the future. And, I think if you were looking for a lot of details to build an investment case on or to, understand things from a technical perspective, then yeah, you didn't get that. It was really just a marketing event focused on unveiling these new vehicles.
Okay, great. Let's go to Ellie. Ellie was incredible last night at the watch party. He woke up at 3 a.m. and I actually said he couldn't sleep and stayed with us until 6 a.m. in Israel. Ellie, go ahead.
Thanks, Yaman, for thank you for the introduction. Omar, did you notice how many cameras has the Cybercab has, and also if you noticed a front camera? Thank you.
Come to think of it, I didn't check for the front camera. The camera suite looked to be pretty similar to what you see on other Teslas. So, pure vision robotaxi, no radar, no lidar, just and I confirmed that with the engineers, just cameras, and a pretty similar camera placement to the other cars.
Just a shout out to Ken C in YouTube live chat, asks a fun question and says, any evidence of Optimus pleasure model at the event? Omar, did you see Optimus doing anything fun?
I mean,
You don't have to answer that question. Let's go to Jimmy.
Hey, so again, I'm bearish after watching this. Reasons being is because we got more promises and unanswered questions that we've had. Like, where's the Roadster? Like, I'm still waiting for that thing. FSD, I mean, Elon himself now just said Waymo's ahead of us. Waymo is 2 years ahead of Tesla in 2 geographed
Wait, when did
areas.
Elon say that? When did Elon say Waymo is ahead of us?
Because he said in 1 year we will have 2 cities that will be mapped, and guess what?
Well, you're
Waymo's already there.
misquoting Elon. You're misquoting Elon. Yoda, that's an immediate removal from the speaker board. Yoda,
Yeah, I think the Cybercab is the perfect design. If it was a two-seater with a bench in the back or four-seater, it would have had a huge Osborne effect on the current vehicle. And I think Elon purposely did not talk about the specs, did not talk about pre-order dates and so on, because everyone would have thrown money at this thing. Um, so I think they would have gotten hundreds of thousands of pre-orders, and it would have squashed all those people that would have bought the Highland Model 3. So I think this is actually smart, and then let the time plan out a little bit. If you question why 2026, think about it. They're working on the machine that builds the machine, right? These plants takes a while to stand up. Is Waymo standing up any production plants with their partners with Uber? That's the question you have to ask.
Yeah. Okay, Yoda, thank you very much. I see a bunch of hands. We have great discussion. A lot of people who are at the event. There are people requesting to speak as well with more questions. But right now we're low on likes on YouTube at 181. We have to get to 250. Okay, so I need 70 of the 500 people. If everyone in the X space right now did that to support Tesla Live, 2 seconds, we will get to our goal of 1,000 episodes, 1,000 likes per episode, where we get to contribution margin positive. Okay, so please take a moment to do that. We're going to take 30-second break for people in the X space so that they don't miss anything doing this. Do that. This link is at the top of our screens. Instead of liking the tweet, you have to click into the link, youtube.com/live, that link at the top. Go to the YouTube channel and like the video. Thank you very much, everybody. Omar, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. I think just everyone at the event was really floored by the Cybercab, the Robovan, which nobody expected, seeing Optimus up close and how the hardware's projected. I don't think this event was really about the Roadster or the more affordable vehicles they're bringing to market or the other cars they're doing, like the new Model Y. And it doesn't mean like the new Model Y or the Roadster isn't important, but this was just a robotics event. And I mean, you notice that like people who are usually negative were disappointed, which isn't really surprising. Like, you know, oh well,
See,
why didn't he do?
that's exactly what happened at the Cybertruck Unveil. I went to Cybertruck Unveil. We took a tour of the production line. There were a bunch of Cybertrucks. Everyone was so pumped. It was awesome to be there watching Elon on stage. And then I come out, and I'm not even on my phone at the time, right? Because I'm just enjoying the event. I come out of the event. I look at the headlines, look at the Twitter sentiments, and it's like all negative. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? This is the best car, best vehicle ever produced. And I was at the delivery event. Everyone was so excited. Employees were so excited. I got to meet Drew Beverlino, a bunch of other employees. And it's just, it doesn't reflect the outside sentiment, doesn't reflect what's actually happening at the event. That's why we have Omar here telling
Yeah,
us about.
yeah, the Cyber Rodeo and this event in particular were a you had to be there kind of event. Seeing a video of this versus actually seeing driverless Teslas drive by, seeing in them. I mean, like, first of all, you're in Warner Brothers Studios, which is just fun in itself. You look around, you see Kimball, May, and Tuska Musk. You see Elon's kids running around. You see, like Ray Stremmerd and Sway Lee and like all these like rappers. I met Marquez Brownlee and just seeing everything there, like actually being one of the first people to actually touch Optimus or get a drink from Optimus. It is really a completely different experience, I think. And for people who are on the live stream, they're just waiting. It's like 45 minutes late. They're like, God damn it, Elon, you idiot. And then it's just kind of like, well, that's it. I waited all this time and I just got this. But they presented, two products that we really didn't see coming that I think are really brilliant. I really love the direction they're going with their vehicles with no controls, both doing a 2-seater and a 20-seater. These are both really exciting. And in particular, the Robovan, when you look at all the different use cases, how they show it being like a food truck. Like you can outfit it for cargo. You could put cargo in it. And remember how I was saying the semi is going to be 50% of the revenue? Well, I'm going to have to adjust that because I think this Robovan is also going to be an important freight vehicle. And they showed it becoming a school bus. They showed it becoming an airport transporter. I mean, this is such a versatile platform. So, if you're just a trader or something, your initial reaction might be, okay, whatever. But I mean, what other tech company has a vision of the future like this? This kind of bold, change the
Exactly.
world vision of the
Hey,
future. And that is really, I think, what drives long-term gains.
exactly. And we have another super chat from Chris G. I have to prioritize these super chats. There's a bunch of them. Chris G asks, related to Optimus, Omar, as you were talking about Optimus, we saw a short video of a robotic arm cleaning the Cybercab. Was design elements were included for easy cleaning? I think Elon mentioned self-cleaning on stage. I'm not positive on that, but what kind of cleaning elements did you see on the Cyber?
Yeah, that was one of the most awesome parts of the video, honestly. When I saw that, I was like, okay, that's pretty great. I don't know how practical it is in terms of, are most cybercabs really going to be cleaned with this automated cleaning station? Probably they'll be cleaned by people. But, what he's really showing here is we're going autonomous all the way, right? It's not going to be, well, the car is driverless, but you have this big Waymo depot where they're cleaning the cars, charging the cars. There's a lot of people behind those driverless Waymos making them work, cleaning them, charging them, servicing them, whatever. So really the vision they're presenting is, well, what if all of that was automated too? What if it came back to the station and it just parked over a wireless charging pad and that was it? No need to plug in. It can just autonomously charge itself, right? And then what if it didn't need to be cleaned by a human? What if we had these purpose-built robots? They're not Optimus. They're actually designed just for the use case of cleaning the car. They look like KUKA robots or something. And you just open the doors of the car, you get the robots in. This is also what the doors are great for. They just open up and you have that robot get in. It could clean the screen, it could vacuum the seats, vacuum the floor, and the car's ready to go out and make more money. Why does this matter? Well, if you eliminate human labor from cleaning and charging, you bring down the cost per mile. So I don't think people get it, right? Autonomy is here. Driverless is going to be here. Tesla just showed how they're going to mop the floor with Waymo, okay? They have a vehicle that's lower cost, that can charge itself, that can clean itself, and they have way more of them. Remember when Elon said we're going to take on buses and everyone laughed at him and they said, "Well, how are you going to beat a bus?" Well, they're going to make a bus and they're going to make it autonomous. So, I mean, he says, we think we can reduce the cost of a bus by 80%. This is, I think,
Exactly.
really tough to compete with for anybody else. And I mean, even if you're a company like Waymo, they're struggling to find one vehicle to sort of build their service on.
Yeah.
Tesla is designing an entire portfolio from top to bottom to meet all kinds of use cases.
Exactly, man. The entire board is raising their hands, and I have other people requesting to speak as well. And we have super chats to get to, so I need to adjust pace a little bit. I'm asking all speakers to be very succinct with their points and questions. Let's go to TSLA. Did you have anything? You did a great job last night in the watch party. I really appreciated your insights with as an Uber driver. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I actually think that the robot cleaning the cars is a great feature. You know, you could I actually saw in one of the pictures of it when it was cleaning with that white film. It had like a little green tube, and I think that's could be like water, like steam kind of thing to actually like sanitize the seats and sanitize that screen. And I think having that is a great thing. And the one thing I wish it didn't have in the Cybercab is I wish it didn't have carpeted floors. I wish it actually had rubber floors. I think that would have been much easier to clean as because
Very
carpet
good.
you get, yeah.
That is a great insight from somebody who's been driving their Tesla for 3 years on the Uber network on FSD. And Tesla has been a great member of the speaker board and last night's watch party, which broke records in terms of views and likes and everything. Thank you. So Tesla, I hope Tesla employees are listening to your suggestion that maybe do a rubber floor instead of carpeted floor. All right, let's go to another great member of the speaker board who was there at last night's watch party, Alexander. Alexander was able to give us his insights on the robotics portion of the presentation.
Yeah, about the question we had earlier about the hardware on Cybercab, I'm looking at Dirty Tesla's Twitter page here and or X page, and it has a front bumper camera, it seems, and hardware-free type of front-facing cameras.
Okay, thank you very much, Alexander, for that insight. Let's go to Uzi, another great member of the speaker board who was there at the watch party.
I think it's a lot of excitement, a lot of puzzle pieces, but without the business plan specifics, like for instance, is this 30K car going to be in network or sold to customers? I think it was just said sold to customers. Without that, it's very confusing. So I do think what Omar is putting forth with the Robovan and self-charging, that will come just way after, and that's the vision. Like the cyber car is tomorrow, or not tomorrow, maybe a year.
Yeah, it was really interesting because when Robovan, by the way, he called it Robovan. When the Robovan came to stage, people were like, wow, that's a toaster on wheels. It's not about that, guys. It's about the fact that this thing is going to be 5 cents per mile to operate, okay, as opposed to $1 that the buses cost to operate today. That is a 90+% improvement, 10x improvement in cost of transportation, which works itself into cost of everything. Okay, all the goods that are transported around the world, it works, and so it's going to be a very deflation. That thing that you saw that people say toaster on wheels is going to improve the prices of everything around the world going forward. Let's go to Brandon.
Hey, I'm a huge fan of the autonomous toaster. I think it's gonna be great in like third world countries, especially. And Omar, um, if anything stood out to you at the event, would you change anything about the Robotaxi, or what do you think they may change when it becomes a full production from what you saw, if anything?
I mean, it's clearly not a finished product. It's a prototype. So we've got quite some time before they sort of put the finishing details on this thing. Um, I kind of miss the glass roof a little bit, but if they're keeping costs down, then I guess that kind of makes sense. I would just say, really, really just focus on making it extremely durable.
We have a great suggestion we have a lot of great questions and replies, and 10 people requesting to speak and bunch of hands up. I need to prioritize the super chats. Truth to its T, Omar asks, could Cybercab receive federal tax credit? If so, it's below 25 and drives you personal chauffeur style. And Truth T also reminds me, just a second ago, Tesla suggested do a rubber floor instead of carpeted floor for cleaning purposes. And Truth to a T also says Joa floor mats to protect the carpet. I agree with that. Joa is a great sponsor of the space. Omar, what do you think about Truth T's question? Could Cybercab receive the federal?
If the EV federal tax credit exists in 2026 or 2027, it could qualify, I think, yes.
Okay, very good.
I mean, it's a regular vehicle you can buy. I think this is also one of the really interesting aspects of it is this is the first time you have a driverless car you can buy that has no controls. So Waymo, obviously, they don't sell their cars. So this is a product you can buy. Even if you don't want to robotaxi your car out, you can buy a cheap Cybercab just to drop your kids off to school or whatever and just use it as a personal vehicle. You can obviously send it out on the Tesla network if you want to give rides, but you can also just use it as a personal vehicle like any other.
Good. Yoda.
Yeah, this event was an experiential event, so because of that, you had to be there in person. With regards to this cyber cab, um, I think the screen was much larger than I thought. I think it must have been a 24 inch panel there.
21, right? I thought it was 21.
Yeah, 21, 24. I don't know, it's huge. And you could think of the app services, the app ecosystems, um that's a huge potential. The only question I have for Omar is, do you think they should have um done a two screen in case there are, two passengers who wanted to use the screen?
Great question, from Yoda. Omar, do you think Tesla should do two screens for the two passengers in the Cybercab?
No, I mean, this thing is just focused on being as low cost as possible. There are no frills on this thing. And with a one or two seat vehicle, most of the time you're going to be riding in it yourself. Sometimes there will be one other person. If they really want to watch their own movie, I mean, and they don't want to use their phone, they can call another cybercab. I think having one screen, you want to really reduce and remove every part possible. I think what people don't realize is that the autonomous market is not going to be dominated by who made the first service. It's going to be dominated by who can offer the lowest cost per mile. So literally just make this vehicle and do not put anything on it that it doesn't need. Just make it the simplest vehicle possible for transporting one person on a short trip, 5 minutes away around town.
Very good. Wessex.
Yeah, I'll make this real fast. I'm on the plane right now returning. It was a real pleasure meeting Omar last night. The event was phenomenal. My big single takeaway, I have others. I think after the weekend, I'll have a little bit clearer view as the dust settles. But the balance between beautiful design, function, and low cost on RoboCab is my number one takeaway from an investor standpoint. It is absolutely beautiful. No one does it better than Elon Musk in terms of per unit economics.
Absolutely. Thank you very
Yeah,
much, Wessex.
I think you hit on something really important. It's a low cost vehicle without feeling cheap. It feels like you're getting out of a Lamborghini with the doors opening up. You've got space that's more than a much more expensive car. You've got this large display and it just looks great. It doesn't feel like some cheap car you're arriving in. It just looks great. It looks cool. It looks futuristic. So they've managed to hit a low cost, but it's still a Tesla. It's still beautiful.
Very good. We have more hands, more questions, more super chats to go around, but we're running low on likes right now. I would like us to get to 350 likes in the next 10 minutes. Otherwise, we're going to take a break until we get there. So if you're listening on X, please take a moment to go up to the top of your screens, click that YouTube link button to support the space. Hit a like. It only takes 2 seconds and it helps us a lot. Alexander, go ahead.
Yeah, the Cybercab was really beautiful. And I remember a week or two ago when we saw that yellow thing and everybody was so scared it's got to be that. And I'm pleased it's not.
Thank you. Dallas, and then Magic.
Yeah, Omar, how did the doors operate? Because when Elon got in, they seemed to open before him and get in. When he got in, they closed right behind him. Did you have to push a button or did they close automatically?
There was just a little button on the touchscreen that said door. There was one for each side, and you could touch it and the door would open. And, obviously, as you approach, it would open automatically. On Waymo, you have to click unlock. So you'd probably push some button and it would unlock, open the door. And then once you're inside, you push another button and it closes.
Very good. Bear on board. Bear on board, everybody. We have Magic on the board. He is a short seller. He hates Elon, hates Tesla, wants the company to die and employees to be jobless and not be able to provide for their families. And next, Ed Magic, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of want the employees to work for a company that's like Ford or someone that's actually going to do something or be in survival. But first and foremost, buy the rumor, sell the news. I think we were all kind of pointing that way. I'm really just here to see how. I want to see Omar earn his paycheck. I want to see how he's going to spin this. How he's going to spin this into something good, because this is going to be really tough. This is just some rich kid playing with his toys. We don't really know. We have no timeline. We have no information. The big thing for the Bears that win is that he didn't say anything about level 3 hardware. So are you guys all cool with level 3 not being anything? And I've been on a lot of spaces and everybody's clamoring that level 3 is going to be something, and it appears it's not going to be. So
All right. And Magic, you know I'm teasing you with that introduction. I know you're genuine and nice guy with good points every now and then. Omar, any response to Magic's question?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything that they showed off as a toy. I mean, I think Optimus has enormous industrial applications. I think the designs they've showed off for vehicles without manual controls are, pretty incredible. They're going to reshape the way the roads look. And this is, you see this reaction after every event because Elon and Tesla, they just think about things so long term. They showed us the world that they want to build last night. And, Wall Street, they want to know what's going to happen next quarter. So many companies that focus on the short term don't deliver long-term value creation. Although you're not going to see it in the stock right away, this vision is the reason why Tesla has been such a strong performer since inception.
Very good. Yoda.
Yeah, I think what caused this gap, and particularly this time so pronounced, is that if you were not there, you were watching the Cybercab basically on screen. It feels like an animation. It feels like everything is staged. But for those of us who were there, we got to ride in it. We got to experience it. We were in a working prototype. And I think this again creates basically an information arbitrage for those who are there. And it's going to be a huge gap.
Yeah. Nobody says in the replies they sold the rumor as well as the news. I don't know about that. I think this stock moved up quite a bit before the event. Any other questions, comments? Finflexity. Finflexity was also at last night's watch party, which was a great event. I really enjoyed watching it with my speakers. Finflexity, what were your observations? Do you have any questions for those who were there? I mean, if anybody in the audience has questions for Omar, who was there, Yoda, who was there, please, this is the time to do this. Request to speak and ask your questions. Let's get some behind the scenes insight.
Yeah, I enjoyed the event, most particularly Optimus, to be honest. I wasn't that excited about the Robotaxi rides and all, given that we weren't given a lot of information about it by Elon, which is something that I was actually expecting. But Optimus just made up the event as a positive experience for the company in the future. And one thing that I think that many people aren't pointing out is the fact that since we know that Tesla isn't going to be relying on OpenAI for the Optimus voice as well, the voice is definitely probably 99% sure that it is AI based. So I think that it also represents a good feat by either XAI or Tesla themselves, because that conversation was phenomenal between people and Optimus.
Thank you, Finflexity. We have Alexander disagreeing with you, Uzi disagreeing with you. So I want to give them a word. Let's get the facts straight here. Alexander?
Yeah, that was not an AI. That was a person speaking. You could tell some videos it was really awkward. It was 100% human.
And Uzi sounds like agrees with you, Alexander. Okay, thank you very much for correcting records. FinFlexit, thank you very much for coming up. I really appreciate your insights and your questions and your points, and I really enjoyed last night with you. Let's go to Neil. Neil, and then Smolek.
Yes, so I'd like to make one observation. I was watching Optimus at the bar, and you know what wasn't there? A tip jar, right? So the question becomes, right? Like if you drive, like this thing costs so little. If it only costs 20 or 30 grand, not only can it replace the dirty jobs, it can just replace the cheap jobs, right? And so there's kind of like this little bit of moral ethical dilemma. I hope that Optimus does the dirty, expensive, things. I hope people buy it and leverage it for that. But yeah, no tip jar. That's my observation.
No tip jar. All right. I'm trying to get a restaurant owner to come into our space so we can ask him about some of these, like how a restaurant owner would look at Optimus. And this person is a forward-looking early adopter of technology. So I think it would be a very insightful conversation. So if you want that to happen, this space has to grow in visibility. Our YouTube channel needs to grow in visibility so that we can bring people like that into our space and get unique insights for you. And the way you can help is go to the top of your screens, click to that YouTube link, and click the like button. And I said earlier, if you don't get to 300 in 10 minutes, we're going to wait until we do. So now, time to pause. For those of you listening next, to please take 2 seconds to help this space so that we can bring in more people to interview for Unique Insight. 30-second pause. I'm going to read our audio ads in the meantime. Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Joa. Are you looking to elevate your Tesla driving experience? Look no further than Joa. They offer a wide range of high-quality accessories designed specifically for Tesla owners who demand the best. At Joa, you'll find innovative charging solutions, stylish interior upgrades, protective gear, cutting-edge tech add-ons. Use promo code TSLA Live at checkout for a special discount. And Tesla Live is also proudly sponsored by Paymore, your trusted destination for buying, selling, trading, and recycling electronics. Looking to upgrade your tech? Want to turn your old devices into cash? With over 100 stores nationwide, Paymore makes it easy and secure. Join the Paymore revolution today. Visit one of their stores near you or check them out online at paymore.com. Thank you, Joa and Paymore, for supporting Tesla Live. Let's see where we are on the likes. 280. Yeah, we're going to wait until we get to 300. $290. So we need 10 more people to do this. Omar, I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't know what to tell people to take freaking 2 seconds. You know, this is frustrating. 2 seconds is free. Just do it. Like, I don't want to sit in silence. You know, nobody does. All right, congratulations, everybody. We just made it there. Small X.
Thanks, guys. Just threw a like up on YouTube too. So one of the most insane things I saw last night were just the attendee videos, showing the off the cuff conversations between Optimus and the guests. They're clearly being teleoperated, but they could handle walking, standing still, and balancing completely on their own while they're compensating for these like balance controls that are being sent in from a person, or these gestures that are being sent in remotely. Like, to me, that's an extremely impressive engineering challenge to not fall over while a teleoperator is moving you around, moving your arms around, moving your torso around, while audio and video are obviously going 2 ways. That means this stuff's being fed in by a teleoperator who's either right there on the spot or maybe not so close. So there's like, is there a Starlink dish directly in the Optimus head or body? Or are they bouncing communications off of Starlink in the area? Meaning that guy could be anywhere in the world, which is pretty insane, depending on, you know, latency of the system.
Omar, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously teleoperation is a huge use case. It's also how they can gather a lot of training data to train Optimus to do things autonomously. So I think probably, I don't know how they had this set up, but the conversations felt completely natural. Honestly, if they just showed us kind of a canned demo, it wouldn't really capture just how powerful this Optimus hardware is. When you see it moving, it just looks so natural, so lifelike that I mean, you have never seen a robot this advanced that can capture the range of human movement. I mean, it reminds me of FSD in so many ways, just where you're like, wow, that's so lifelike. So, yeah, I think the hardware is just extremely powerful. And teleoperation, I think, is going to be probably the first major use case for it.
Yeah. One more thing I'm thinking is what they showed us last night is they've lined themselves up to dominate this entire thing. Like, who else has this in-house ecosystem of, you know, lithium refining to battery production to advanced actuator development to the training compute with the Cortex cluster and real world training data and freaking low latency remote teleoperation through Starlink, you know?
Uzi, go ahead.
I was on the Jimmy John's, the humanoid in hospitality thread. Joe Lonsdale, Palantir co-founder, had an interview with the Jimmy John's former CEO, and he brought up Optimus. So it basically said that margins are very high right now, and having a humanoid laborer will bring that down. Curious to see what your person would say once this space expands.
Thank you. Flexity.
Yoda can go first. I'll just gather the article first.
I don't know what you said. Luce. Luce is a Tesla bear, Elon hater, and he is also hated on this space many times on X with trollish replies. And yet he comes to the space because this space offers the best information out there, even for our haters. And we welcome even if our haters. Luce, go ahead. I can't hear Luce.
I can't either.
Okay, so I guess that's what happens. Jimmy.
All right. It was uncalled for to put words in Elon's mouth. This was my experience. I got an invite to my local Tesla dealer to go watch the event. There was about 100 people that showed up. And then slowly, everybody started leaving because they were 45 minutes late. As the event was actually starting, the dealership was like, let's just close it. Let's send everybody home. We're not going to watch it here. So that was kind of a disappointment. The second thing was, I don't understand why they couldn't have mentioned things that people have been wondering. I understand it's an unveil, but when you unveil something, you left all these questions open because I was the person who caught the car getting cleaned by the robots, but there was no information from Elon about this. Are they going to have to buy real estate to put in these cleaners? Do the cars go there? Does Tesla actually run the Robotaxi fleet, or do you buy it as a consumer and start a business as a Robotaxi fleet? This was very confusing to me.
Omar.
Yeah, this has all been explained before. He did confirm that you are going to be able to buy the Cybercab. So, like the other vehicles, you can buy the Tesla vehicle and you can put it on the Tesla network. All vehicles will be.
Hey, guys, hear Omar?
Now we cut out.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Tesla has said that they will also maintain their own fleet of several million vehicles to augment areas where customer supplied robotaxis don't have enough service.
FSD unsupervised.
Yeah, I'm a Tesla fan and I'm a Tesla investor. Bought 35 more shares today. But I want to ask everybody that went to the event, what did you see that will give Tesla stock any kind of a boost in the next year or two?
Unsupervised FSD.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think, as Tesla said before, they'll have their own vehicles and probably their own headquarters where they wash and charge the car if needed. I think they're going to rely on people to have their own fleets, or small businesses or large businesses to have their own fleet to do their own charging. They may offer that autonomous cleaning thing as a product. With the charging, you buy the charging, buy the cleaner, and take care of your own vehicles, and they'll take a cut of everything.
I mean, this is not. I mean, Omar, do you? I want to ask this question.
No, what are you thinking?
Just the timeline. The timeline. It's just, I watched a lot of the interviews this morning on CNBC and Bloomberg and Yahoo Finance and everything, and people are like, he's been saying these things for 10 years. He didn't say anything new last night. And now the goal is 2026, and then he switched, in 2026. Well, let me just say before 2027. What do you think is the probability of this happening before 2027?
If it's 50-50, I mean, I think Ming-Chi Kuo said that if you really talk to the suppliers who are actually making the parts for this, it's not going to get into mass production until 2027. So I think 2026, if they're not late, it'll be lower scale, and then they'll scale up. But, we also need to get the software perfect first before we start mass production. So I don't think that's a big concern with a late 2026, 2027 for mass production. And mass production we're talking for this thing is like millions of units a year, right? So we're talking, millions of units a year in 2027, 2028. And they can start with Model 3 and Y in the meantime. I mean, here's the thing that people miss when they say, well, he's been talking about this for 10 years. Yeah, but he's also been shipping product for 10 years and making improvement after improvement. You go look at other companies. Ford said, we're going to run a autonomous service in 2021. When 2021 came and they didn't launch it, they said, well, because of the pandemic, we're delaying it until next year. So many companies made these promises. People don't pay attention because they don't talk about it. They like to kind of pick on Elon. But the fact is, he's the one who's delivering these updates, right? He's the one who's shipping FSD 13 this month. That's bringing up the cluster. You can laugh at him and, he'll probably be optimistic. He usually is. Unsupervised FSD may be, Q1 or Q2 2026 rather than 2025, depending on the progress of the software and the progress of them obtaining the necessary permits. But this guy doesn't give up. He just keeps pushing. He keeps incrementing. And he ends up winning a lot of these markets. I mean, I think this is a vision of the future that is exciting, that Tesla is really poised to deliver on. I mean, those moments where you saw the parking lots removed and those areas turn green, he's really kind of laying out what is Tesla working on in this new era of AI. And you can sort of dismiss it by saying he's too optimistic, but you're ignoring the fact that millions of people now have access to self-driving technology because they've put it out there.
Thank you very much. I see we have a really good group of speakers right now with a bunch of hands up. I think there was just a quick PSA. I think there was an interruption on the X side of things. I saw a surge in YouTube viewership at the same time. Let's welcome Sierra. Sierra was also at last night's watch party. And Sierra, any questions, any comments, your takeaways? Welcome to the speaker board.
Thank you. I don't have any questions right now. I'm going to listen in to what the hands have to say for a little. But I was just extraordinarily blown away by Optimus, and I think that impacted me more than the Cybercab launch and the Robovan combined. So I'm excited to hear what everyone else's takeaways were, and I'll pipe down
Very
now.
good. Let's go to Machine. Machine is on the board now. Machine is going to tell you, let me guess what he's going to say. Okay, he's going to say this was the worst presentation in Tesla's history. He's going to say that there were no details shared in this presentation. And he's going to say that the stock is not going to move up. You should probably sell and not short it, but maybe write calls, he's going to say. He's going to bring all this negativity into our space. Machine, go ahead, earn your bear title.
Yesterday was maybe the most historic moment in Tesla history. For the first time, Tesla has broken a record, beating out Comic-Con for the most incels in one event in the entire history of the world.
Okay, great. Now that you joked around and wasted everybody's time and ChatGPT took note of that, do you have any insights to add to the conversation? Any technical details that you saw at the event that kind of changed your mind? Let me ask you point blank. Did you change your timeline for robotaxis or $1 billion in profits for Optimus based on what you saw yesterday?
There was so little real information yesterday. I don't know how anyone could update any timeline to add any confidence whatsoever on Tesla making profits on these vehicles. The only thing one could possibly do logically is reduce confidence in them making money on these vehicles anytime soon.
Okay, so maybe that's why the stock dropped quite a bit today. All right, well, if you think of any other additional insights, we'll get back to Yoda. Let's go to Yoda. Yoda is also a very valuable member of Tesla Live, and he was there at the event last night. Yoda?
Thank you for interrupting me on my selling of Apple shares to buy Tesla shares. You literally interrupted me, but okay, I'll go. I think there's 3 lines converging. One line is the advancement of FSD, which Ashok is spearheading. The other is that every day Tesla continues to produce robotaxi capable Model Ys and 3s, okay, in hundreds of thousands in volume. And then finally, in order to explode the volume, Tesla needed a cheaper vehicle, and that is the robotaxi. And so these 3 lines are converging at this point. Now, Elon doesn't know when exactly the lines will cross, but it's going to be sometime around 2026.
Thank you, Yoda. Let's go back to Machine. Machine, any additional insights?
Yeah, I mean, look, they unveiled a vehicle. That's really all they did, which was the bare minimum of what we expected. So, congrats. It looks great. Looks for Robotaxi, however, are not really that important. I mean, I know I saw this tweet going around of people comparing Waymo's Robotaxi versus Tesla's. Hey, you guys, you realize most people don't care. You know what they care about? Which one actually can drive them autonomously. So I actually thought that was hilarious.
But if they can, but let me kindly interrupt you, respectfully interrupt you there and say, if they were priced very similarly, don't you think you would rather be in the Cybercab instead of the Waymo, just based on looks, even if the Cybercab didn't offer anything else?
All else being equal, yes, but it's a minor difference. And people focusing on these minor differences when there's a massive elephant in the room. The elephant is one vehicle works, the other one doesn't. Not only that, we didn't get any specific details on the actual car itself, on what functions it will be able to do to be a robotaxi. Go look at Kyle Voigt, the CEO of the failed Cruise, former CEO, excuse me. He has a bullet point of like 10 different things, questions about we need answers for what would take to make this vehicle an actual robotaxi in terms of even cleaning the cameras. This is a real thing. I don't know why people are blowing this out of proportion. Why didn't they tell us about how they're going to clean the cameras? Are you really serious about robotaxis or not? Are you really serious or not? Because when I see that presentation, I think they're not serious.
Okay, yeah, I have to respectfully interrupt here, Machine. You said the elephant in the room is that one service is operational today and the other isn't. But yet, I know you have a short-term focus on things. You're a short-term trader. You bet both bullish and bearish mix. But the fact is, in the longer term, it's not going to matter if one of them is operational today and the other one is. What matters is who's going to reach the scale profitably. And I think Tesla's approach of vision only is going to win without reliance on HD maps, is going to win in the longer term. So I have to push back a little bit on that front, respectively, because you're a very valued member of this space. Machine, go ahead.
Well, then I have to push back and push you down the stairs, because this focus on LiDAR and HD maps, as if they add some extraordinary cost, is really ridiculous. Does it add a slight cost difference? Yes. But for now, what we have is one maker, company
All right,
Waymo.
I know you want to repeat that point, but the fact is, I have to interrupt you again because it does add a lot of cost. Bunch of lidars, bunch of radars, not only adds a mechanical cost that they have to fix later on when they break down, but also it increases the inference compute that you need on the car. That's why in the backseat of a Waymo, you have a data center instead of a small computer that Tesla puts into its cars. So it does matter. These things do matter. And I want technical expertise on this board. Therefore, we're going to go to Omar. Omar?
I think there's a good chance that 1 year from now, Tesla could be running a bigger driverless service than Waymo. Waymo has driven 75% of their miles in Phoenix. 75% of their miles are still human-driven test fleet miles. And they have not completely solved autonomous driving. And they certainly haven't solved how to make a business out of autonomous driving. So Tesla really, I think, is poised to dominate this market. You can really see a big difference emerging just using the software. Like I urge people, just use both products in Los Angeles, for example, and an ordinary person can see the difference. FSD's smooth, it's lifelike, and Waymo is robotic and often has to call for remote help.
Thank you, Omar. We have a lot of speakers on the boards. Real Zertex says Yamas cooling machine, like machines cooled Gordon. This is correct. I agree with that. Oh, machine's back. Oh my gosh, I thought you left because you got scared.
No, I mean, look, Waymo is not some perfect example of a robotaxi service. I agree with you there. So
Dude, it's
Tesla,
not
of
even an
course,
example. It's not even an example of robotaxi service. It
it
is
obviously
human.
is an
It is
example. It's
human
ridiculous.
no, it is human supervised. To call Waymo driverless is a crime. It's a federal crime in 7 states.
You
Okay,
realize
it is human supervised, as Omar mentioned in my one-on-one conversation. For 30 minutes, Omar spilled more facts and insight than you had in your entire life.
you do realize that Tesla plans on doing the same thing, don't you? I mean, Elon Musk said as much. So I think you guys just have unrealistic expectations. My point is simply that Waymo, their starting point, ultimately, if you're thinking over 10, 15, maybe more years, yes, Tesla will have the advantage. But if you're thinking over the next 4 years, Tesla has no advantage because they won't have a robotaxi and working and making money until probably late 2027 at the earliest. So you're going to have 3 years for Waymo to expand. How much does that matter in terms of inertia or garnering support from the public? I don't know. But what I do know is Tesla, the main thing I'm focused on is Tesla is not going to be making much money from robotaxis or Optimus in the next 3 years. So then we have to look back, what are they going to be making money on, and how much is the market willing to wait for so long for them to actually start making more money?
Listen, the fact is, Rivian had many years to bring R1T to scale and to profitability before Tesla started producing Cybertruck. Just like Waymo has taken many years to ever get to profitability, and there's no sight of profitability. There's no sight of financially sustainable scalability on Waymo's side. Waymo is the Rivian of autonomy. Omar.
Yeah, I wouldn't characterize them necessarily as, you know, human supervised, but they can be human assisted at times. If they get stuck, they can call for help. And I think the Cybercab will have to do something like that too. I mean, that's kind of par for the course, but they have 700 cars, right? So when we really talk about scale here, when we talk about, 30,000 cars, when we talk about 10 million cars, right? When you have 700 cars, you can have a call center with 300 people in it easy. It'll be a big building, but they'll fit in an office building. When you've got 30,000 cars, you're going to need a lot more call centers potentially. When you have to map the whole city, right? That's one thing. Okay, I can maintain a few HD maps. When you have to map the whole continent and suddenly you're worried about things like continental drift, the continent is moving. Okay, how fast is the continent moving today? So I can update this map and, make sure it's aligned with the GPS coordinates. And these things become obstacles to scaling compared to a pure vision system. Here's the thing. If Waymo were to improve their miles per intervention, it doesn't matter because they only have 700 cars. If Tesla were to improve their miles per intervention to a point where it's safer than human, the world would change overnight. Okay, so that difference between the world changing overnight, a lot of people's lives being saved, and nothing changing is scale. Scale is what's necessary to affect change. So it may seem like, oh, you're so behind, but what they're doing is they're laying a foundation. They're putting bricks down. They're putting the mortar in. They're paving it nicely. And Waymo is building a stick hut. and it looks like, oh wow, they've already got their hut up. Look, they're sleeping, it's raining, and they've got a roof over their head already. But building a strong foundation of deep learning, computer vision, and the lowest cost per mile is, I mean, and then humanoid robotics and combining that all vertically, there is nobody even close to what they're doing. And
Exactly.
I mean, this is an
Exactly.
enormous market that's emerging. It's kind of like the internet or the personal computer, where you see this new technology that you see is going to improve people's quality of life so dramatically and change the way we live. And with each of these technologies, there's one company that you kind of think of that brought it to market. Tesla is that company for robotics and autonomy.
Thank you, Omar. Omar mentioned that scalability is what changes the world, not some lab project that you have with a few hundred cars. Let's go to machine.
You know, that would all be well and good if this company was valued at $100 billion, but it's already valued at $700 billion. So the upside for a lot of that capacity is limited in the short term. And I would just mention that respond to Waymo being an ugly car, not useful. Go ask kids what they think about Waymos. They love them, okay? But you wouldn't know that because you've never had sex, anyone in this space.
Your mom would disagree with that when it comes to everybody on the speaker board. So let's go to Sierra. Sierra?
Yeah, my 6-year-old thinks the Waymos are super ugly. And I did replay some of last night's event for him this morning, and his jaw was on the floor. So sorry, machine.
Yeah, literally everybody disagrees with machine.
Something's wrong with
why.
your son.
Oh my God. Okay. Let's go to one of my favorite accounts with amazing pictures from Hawaii, Kauai. Let's go to Kauai.
Hey, aloha, you guys. It's Taylor. First of all, kind of for machine, just like to say that Yaman and Omar's coverage of the amazing Robotaxi event was the greatest coverage in the world last night.
Thank you. Taylor, thank you. I really appreciate your presence and your pictures and videos that you post. Amazing pictures of the Cybertruck. We have some Cybertruck questions in the live chat as well, but let's kind of keep talking about the Robotaxi Unveil event. That is the topic of the day.
Yeah, I had one more question for Omar about Robotaxi. Is it freaking strong stainless? Because it doesn't, you can't tell in the pictures.
Omar, did you take a swing at the Cybercab? Omar maybe having some connection issues, so we're going to continue with that question later on. Let's go to Small X. Small X, you may unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question on the cleaning idea. Did anyone talk about just having both of those super huge doors open up to where you could just blast, 50, 60 mile per hour wind through the entire vehicle instead of having to vacuum out everything? It seems like you could clean these things extremely quickly with just high pressure air, right?
Absolutely. I mean, Elon's thinking from A to Z when he's designing this car to lower the cost of transportation, which includes obviously some costs like cleaning the car. So you got to make it easy to clean. Thank you, Smolex, for pointing that out. I love the design with the Falcon wing doors. I love that aspect of it. So I'm looking forward to this product being produced, hopefully in the near future. Let's go to Dallas, who hasn't had a chance to speak today. Dallas, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for having me up. I wanted to say, I think the highlight of the night for me was the design of the Cybercab. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. It fits in with the kind of brand ethos of the Cybertruck. I guess I got a question for Omar. I know these were prototypes last night. We've touched on that, but do you think these vehicles will be built with the same exoskeleton as the Cybertruck, or to cost save, will they be painted panels?
Omar had a connection issue, so we're going to take that question to Yoda. And by the way, somebody in the 400 volts in the replies answered the previous question that said, it is not stainless. So this is not stainless, he said, but maybe Yoda can chime in on that as well. Yoda?
Yeah, I don't know what kind of metallic alloy it is. It could be a new variant, but it's definitely not painted. It is metallic, but it's also more brushed than shiny stainless steel.
Thank you, Yoda. Let's go to Finflexity. Finflexity?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys discussed it today, but we also had Anthony Lewandowski, who's the co-founder of Waymo. He actually gave an interview to TechCrunch today regarding last night's Robotaxi event. And he was rather bullish about it. He still pointed out the fact that, it will take time to happen, it will take time to scale up, and that the timeline doesn't make sense to him. But he said that it looks like a good future for the company and he likes the products that were unveiled yesterday.
Very good. Finflexity with unique insight. Again, thank you very much, Finflexity. We have Wes Hicks in YouTube live chat. If this is the same Wes Hicks over here, he was at the event and he says the Cybercab is aluminum. So we now have 3 different claims of what the Cybercab material is. So if somebody can provide more information, more detailed facts, I would really appreciate that. Let's go to Sierra. Sierra?
I just wanted to thank him for sharing that about Lewandowski. That's my former boss, Lewandowski, and I know that he is a big fan of the computer vision approach. For those of you who don't know who he is, he actually designed the first software and hardware for what is now Waymo's LiDAR system. So for him to give that kind of praise to the design and approach of the Cybercab is pretty huge.
Thank you very much, Sierra. Sierra, where did you work for him? What company?
Pronto AI, fully autonomous construction vehicles,
You have a
primarily
really
focused in the mining sector.
You have a really impressive resume. Good to have you on the speaker board. Drew Soul says in YouTube live chat, Dr. Know-It-All mentioned in his video that he confirmed it was carbon fiber with a wrap. Apparently, an employee confirmed this and it was non-magnetic. They tested it. Thank you very much, Drew. Highly appreciate this. Marcel, go ahead.
Yeah, Elon mentioned that the Robovan can be used by like sports teams and stuff like that for travel. And one of my questions was if anybody saw any potential for storage, like for bags and stuff like that.
All right. We're going to take a 30-second break for people in YouTube live chat. For people on X to go to YouTube live chat to like the video. We have to get to a record likes to keep the space going. All right. And we're going to answer Marcel's question a second after that. So while you guys do that, I'm going to refresh YouTube. Let's continue. San Joaquin Valley. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say what a great conversation you guys are having, and even though he's the contrarian, Machine does bring up some very interesting points. But overall, about the event, I think it was incredible. I think they laid out a really good outline for their vision of the future. And I made this post earlier. There is a huge mountain that we have to climb in terms of AI and autonomous, and the only people equipped to do that are Tesla and the AI team. They have all the gear it takes to climb this mountain, and nobody else is even close.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yoda, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the way I look at it is what do I know before 1010 that I didn't know that would be helpful, that I now know. I think I now know that Model Y and 3 are able to be providing a autonomous service sometime next year in 2 states. I now know what the Cybercab looks like and the price point of under $30,000. I know that it is a 2-seater and that it will be able to be both owned and serviced as a ride-hailing service. The bonus for me was how advanced Optimus has gotten. This thing is beyond my wildest expectations, and I think many would agree.
I agree with you. I thought that the event was amazing, as we mentioned earlier in this space. Sometimes what happens is, I mean, like it happened when I went to the Cybertruck deliveries event. You have an incredible experience at the event. You meet other people, other fans, employees. You go through the production line. You experience this amazing few hours, and then you come out, and the sentiment on X or elsewhere in CNBC interviews just super negative, completely unwarranted and short-term thinking. This is normal, par for the course. We were expecting this in this space, and I really appreciate those people who were at the event sharing their insights with us. Let's go to San Joaquin again.
Yeah, it's funny you brought that up because I was thinking about that as well. Every single time there's an event, they hated the Cybertruck, right? They hated the look of it. It wasn't going to sell. How could it? It was hideous. They hated the Model Y event. It was just a bigger Model 3. Nobody's going to buy this thing, and look what happened with that. It's the best-selling vehicle in the world. So we get it. They never understand. They never get it until they do. And so here we are again with this event. They won't get it until it starts hitting them in the face.
Correct. I agree. Brandon, and then Alexander.
Not sure if anyone brought this up already, so apologies. But anyone who was there or Yoda, did you end up seeing that new Optimus hand? It was like separated from the rest of Optimus, and it was just there with like the kind of like pulleys and stuff.
I didn't see the separate hand, but I was able to see the full body, so to speak, of Optimus. And it was doing a lot of intricate hand movement. So I really didn't have any concerns about the hand.
Very good. Alexander.
Yeah, Yoda, I want to ask you, can you confirm that Optimus had the same voice all over?
Do you mean like tone and manner or the actual voice?
Did you
what do you
talk
mean
to different Optimuses? Several of them?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of them. They all had the same sort of male voice that is tuned to be kind of, it felt like Grok, in fun mode.
Thank you, Yoda, for sharing your insights. And it's impossible for us to experience what you experience. And the closest we can get is to ask you questions. So if you guys have any questions for Yoda, who was there at the event last night, please request to speak. Ethan.
So I have a question about Optimus. One, looking at the event last night, it just made you inspire for the future, which is exactly what Elon said. But for those of you who interacted with Optimus, I was curious how Optimus was changing its posture and kind of its movements based on what it was engaging with. So I noticed like it's singing happy birthday and it seemed to understand the context. Like if anyone kind of got to see Optimus in different contexts and how it moved itself and positioned itself, I'm just curious like how that looked and if anyone even has a knowledge around how they're even programming that in or having the AI learn how to do that. I would be really interested. That seemed to be cool, but I couldn't quite tell from watching it on TV.
Yeah, maybe I'll just start. I think that's maybe the wrong question to ask in terms of what's happening right now. Whether there was an operator in the back, whether it was pre-programmed to do some dance move, whether someone was behind the scenes, speaking, through and therefore is able to speak intelligently and relevantly. All of those things are solvable by AI, by LLMs integrating that. What was most impressive yesterday was really the hardware, that it was able to stand, walk, and make these movements without falling, dancing without falling, playing rock, paper, scissors without falling. Now, I think what blew me away was the experience of being with this type of a humanoid. It was not scary. It was not uncanny valley. It was quite a positive experience, and I think that's very difficult to nail. If this was the Boston Dynamics, soldier, I think we would have gotten a very different experience. I think again, the ladies probably wanted to take one home. Sierra, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, if you know anything about my content, I do definitely have thoughts on that, and I hope the ladies and gentlemen never want to take the robots home. I posted about this today. I did notice in the one video that Omar shared where he said Optimus can talk. One of the Tesla employees, when referencing Optimus, referred to it as a he, and that really irked me. I'm super big on robots remaining its, and we shouldn't over anthropomorphize them. I think it's important for the future of human relationships and interactions. But at the same time, I don't think that they were like dangerously close to the uncanny valley. I was surprised to see it in clothing. I think it was cute, but as long as it doesn't have like realistic like skin or a mouth, or I don't know, I think that it shouldn't get any more human looking than it currently is. If you want to put hats on it, great.
Thank you, Sierra. JB Capital, did you get a chance to speak?
I haven't yet. My comment's a little negative. Are you ready for it, or do you want to keep it positive for now?
That's fine. Just related to the conversation we were just having, Jake McCombs just tipped on Super Chat. He says, before the event, Elon specifically said, which is a great, by the way, tangent to JB Capital's point. Jake McCombs said, before the event, Elon specifically said that many people wouldn't get it at first. Appears he was correct. And with that, JB Capital.
Thanks. I kind of like it when Tesla stock fails after these presentations, because I think Musk and company have to work harder in the future. Because simply put, last night did not work, especially if you were not there. There's no reason to have these kind of pump and dumps and have it fail in the markets. If I was allowed to be in the room at Tesla corporate where the idea was floated to have a party about future products, I would have kindly reminded them that the Tesla Roadster event in Semi was November 16th, 2017. 2017. So culturally speaking, Americans are now used to seeing people, entities spiking the football at the 50-yard line, receiving participation ribbons, endless government money printing, and now we're having the party before the job is over. And yesterday was a party, let's make no mistake about it. Did anyone prior to yesterday have any doubt that Tesla was going to struggle to sell these robots? No, so there's really no reason to it. I have sour grapes today because I want them to present and have the stock go up, not down. That's the comment. Thanks.
Yeah, the stock prices, the way they work is they go up and they go down. Sometimes they go up more than they go down. And no stock in ever always just goes up every single day. And we discussed at this space many times that sometimes these events get a lot of hype ahead of time. They run up a little bit. I mean, I know, implied values of these option trades go up quite a bit and then they go down. This is the nature of the stock price. And Elon has said many times, if you don't like volatility, don't invest in the stock. If you're short term, don't invest in the stock. If you think it's the other company, don't invest in the stock. All right. So this is nothing new to Tesla Live listeners. Drew Soul says, many people also fail to realize that Elon did not cancel the low-cost human driving vehicle. Lots of good comments in the live chat. And Sierra, a shout out to you as well in live chat. Mean Woman says, Sierra is great for the space, high value. Thank you very much for being on the speaker board. And Omar is back, everybody. But before that, let's go to Yoda. Yoda and then Omar.
Yeah, for those who remember, the Model Y, its unveiling was very underwhelming. I believe it was sort of a sideshow, and now it is the best-selling, vehicle in terms of EV around the world. And so I think again, do not underestimate the Cybercab.
Good point, Yoda. Thank you very much for being here at the event as well last night. We have a good number of concurrent viewers on YouTube right now, but we're running low right now on likes. If we get to 500 likes, we're at 360. If we get to 500 likes in the next 15 minutes, we will keep the space going for more questions, for more insights. Lots of people requesting to speak, but I need 500 likes from you all. We have 550 people in the X space right now. If everyone in the X space went over to the YouTube through the link at the top of our screens and liked the video, we're going to keep the space going. We're going to take a 30-second break to do that so that people don't miss anything. In the meantime, I'm going to give a shout out to our sponsors who make this space possible. Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Paymore, your trusted destination for buying, selling, trading, and recycling electronics. At Paymore, you can buy the latest gadgets at greatest, brightest prices, sell or trade your used electronics for cash or store credit, and recycle old or broken devices responsibly, helping to reduce e-waste. Thank you, Paymore, for supporting Tesla Live. Check them out online at paymore.com. And Tesla Live is proudly sponsored by Joa, your go-to source for premium Tesla accessories. At Joa, you'll find innovative charging solutions, stylish interior upgrades, protective gear, and cutting-edge tech add-ons. And here's an exclusive offer for Tesla Live listeners. Use promo code TSLA Live at the checkout to receive a special discount on your next purchase. Thank you, Joa, for helping Tesla Live and the Tesla community. Right now, we are up to 380 likes. If we get to 500 in the next 10 minutes, we'll keep the space going. Omar, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Just had to deal with some people leaving my house. Had to talk to them for a little bit, but just in terms of the price action, days like today are days when I say thank you, Mr. Market, because you have a market that doesn't understand the implications short term. It's going to take a little bit of time for them to digest it. But what they've really presented here is a vision to become the most valuable company in the world, certainly the most valuable publicly traded company in the world. For the first time, you have a humanoid robot walking across the audience. And when you see this thing, when you see how lifelike it is, Elon's not exaggerating. This is going to be the biggest product ever. This is really going to improve a lot of people's quality of life. And I think the market will take some time to digest it. Obviously, a lot of it is going to take some time to play out. It's going to take years potentially before Optimus is material to the business. But what they're laying out is a vision for long-term value creation that you're not going to see from a company that's just focused on next quarter. I think maybe they could have done a little better job saying, hey, look, this is actually something you can buy today with FSD supervised. He kind of gave it a little mention, but I think they could have gone a little deeper on it. They could have said, look, if you buy a Tesla with FSD right now, we'll give you 0% APR. And you can actually use this. You have to watch it, but you can actually get this experience today from our products. But really, Tesla's repositioning themselves here. They're no longer just an auto company. I think the analysts and the Tesla obsessed may sort of roll their eyes, but look at the ordinary people who are in my comments who are looking at this thing. Look at their reactions to the robot, to these vehicles. this event was really for them and showing them this vision of the future.
Thank you, Omar. Finflexity.
And I would just like to say that today we saw how much that the market was actually expecting. So, it was just insane. Out of 12 or 13 analysts that released their reports today after the event, I saw that 10 of them were expecting that Tesla was going to unveil a low cost model at the event. And that is primarily why the stock is going down to 8% today. Everyone in the market was expecting it, despite the fact that it was meant to be an unveil for the Robotaxi. So, it was just a really high expectation. It was insane.
Thank you, Finflexity. We have 400 likes on YouTube. If we get to 500 in the next 10 minutes, we'll keep the space going. Let's go to JB Capital again. JB Capital.
Okay, I have a positive comment. The thing I love the most was the point of forget being in the robotaxi and focusing about that. Look what happens to the world when you get out of the robotaxi. There's no more parking lots. Look at Dodger Stadium, and they showed that. Let's put a park there. Look at the airport. Let's put a park there. This changes everything. And I thought that was truly spectacular. And I thought about it for like almost an hour after the event. So that, I mean, I don't think Americans have realized that, or government officials. We should speed this up. Why are we making parking lots anymore in these garages with new hotels? That is a major cost. Why are we doing that? Why do we even have stop signs? Like, it costs too much money. Robo taxis don't need stop signs. They know where to go. They don't need exit signs. There's no reason for all this expense. So I was excited about that. And that's my positive comment. Thanks.
Thank you, JB. I appreciate it. Let's go to G Witted. G Witted, go ahead.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I had a quick question. I didn't remember anybody answering the cargo space for the Robovan, and also, how much cost do you think it would shave off? I agree that it looks super cool with the Cybercab, but if they were just regular Model Y, Model 3 doors, how much cost do you think that could shave off?
Omar?
Yeah, I think he gave some cost figures at the event. It's really interesting to have a high occupancy vehicle. The cost is split amongst a number of people. I think there's just so many things you can build on top of that. So, yeah, that one's going to be really important to the lineup, I think.
Omar, do you have more time?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm making an executive decision. Even though we haven't reached 500 likes, we're going to keep the space going because we have Matthew on the board. Matthew and Tovin used to work for Cruise, former NVIDIA and Cruise employee. He is a vision-only skeptic. And we have Omar on the board. I think we have opportunity here to have an excellent discussion. We're going to keep this space going for another 15, 20 minutes. I would really appreciate it still, though, if people please go up to the top of our screens, like the video through that YouTube link. It really, really helps us out a lot. So let's get to Matthew. Matthew, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. By the way, I just wanted to say congratulations on the growth of the space. I didn't realize you had gotten sponsors. That's really cool.
Thank you.
I also agree with Omar. I thought the Optimus integration with the performance last night was really spectacular. I wondered why it was inside Tesla a little bit, just because it seems like it could be its own company and doesn't seem to have that much synergies with other things that Tesla has. But overall, I was pretty impressed by the progress on Optimus. On the autonomous driving side, though, I was pretty stunned that there's still not really an outline for how is Tesla actually going to get close to this. It's been now 6 months. I don't think there's been a meaningful improvement on FSD V12 since it launched, at least according to the beta trackers and available data. I'm pretty surprised that it still feels like, hey, take Elon's word for it. Just we'll figure this out. It's going to be 2025. It's going to be limited markets, which was an interesting announcement. So yeah, I was pretty I was pretty sad as someone who is a fan of autonomous driving and wants to see it continue forward to not see a real pathway for, hey, what's holding back, why isn't this work today in a Model 3? What holds it back from the mass market adoption?
Omar.
Well, I think it is getting very much better. It is improving rapidly. It's improving not just in terms of miles per critical intervention, but in comfort, in natural human driving. And they have the most natural, smooth self driving I've experienced. They're the number one distributor of self driving technology in the world. They have more users than all the other services combined. Of course, it's supervised today, but at the rate it's improving, they're getting ready to roll out unsupervised starting in California and Texas. So, as much as people want to dismiss what they're doing, I mean, I talked to tons of people at the event last night. They're using this for all their transportation. They used it to get to the event, they used it to get home. And no other self driving service is able to bring them to the event or bring them home. So, as much as people want to dismiss this, in so many ways, Tesla is number one at running a software solution like this at scale.
Okay, but
Thank you. Just Matthew, just 1 second. Do we have some news or something? We just had a surge of people coming into the space. Anyone know of any news on the speaker board?
it was on top of my
There's a
feed.
1 second. There's a headline on from Ray that says Tesla's. Never mind. That's the old headline. Okay. Yeah. Please take a moment to like, and maybe there's no news. Maybe people just want to hear about. Maybe they just got out of work. I don't know. Matthew, go ahead.
I was going to say that the space appeared at the top of my X feed, so maybe that I don't know. But Omar, why are we hearing that from you? Why are we hearing? Oh, it's improving a lot, and it's the most used autonomous driving technology in the world. Why does that come from you, and why not Tesla with data that backs it up? Because all I see is that cumulative mileage chart, and I don't see, hey, show me how close you are to an actual autonomous taxi service. Show me where the line is that you need to hit, and hey, if we cross this line, here we go. No steering wheel. We've got the autonomous service going. I'm just surprised that Tesla and Elon aren't out there with, look how safe it is. Here's all of this data to convince you it's the most safe way to get from A to B. And the fact that I hear that from you, someone who either has privileged information inside the company or just speculating, I feel like investors today were expecting to have, hey, here's the path, here's how close we are, here's where we need to get to, here's when we get there, here's what will happen next. And the fact that we don't have that path still is, I think, really concerning to the market and to autonomous driving enthusiasts.
Well, I don't have any privileged information. I'm just an FSD user, one of hundreds of thousands of FSD users, millions if you include autopilot users around the world. And their path to autonomy is right in front of everyone's face. You can go buy it. They've got inventory near you, probably. You could probably go pick one up and start using their self driving software today if you wanted to. That is the solution. Everyone can see it. And everyone can see that it's not ready to be used without a human driver. But everyone can also see that with each update, it's gaining new functionality. They just gain the ability to operate driverlessly in parking lots and come pick you up. The smoothness, the accuracy, the way it's able to learn and correct its mistakes. You just sort of project that out. For example, according to the roadmap, they're delivering a new version FSD 13 this month that they say will have 6x greater miles per critical intervention. So they're delivering major improvements. They've shipped two major versions, 12 and 13 this year. And anyone can actually go and independently test the progress themselves. and find out how close they are to autonomy. I think next year in California and Texas, they're going to start doing unsupervised rides, and anyone can try it for themselves and gauge how close to doing that they are in any area around the country, which is more than you can say for any other service.
Thank you, Omar. We have a question from YouTube live chat. Ken asks, did Elon say Robotaxi network or just FSD supervised in those 2 states starting next year?
Well, I think that in order to sort of do unsupervised FSD, you'd also need the rideshare network. I suppose you could just have unsupervised for one person, but given that they've already shown us screenshots and videos of the ride sharing app, I'd have to imagine that that's being prepared to launch in concurrence with this service. I would imagine Tesla would probably do a fleet of cars they own themselves first in, maybe one city or something like that, and just sort of expand from there.
Thank you, Omar. Let's go to Scott and then Yoda.
I thought the presentation was great. I think that's the part that I think a lot of people have a hard time with Elon is he's always non-scripted, or he comes across as he wings it when he does these presentations. Where if you take, for example, Apple, Tim Cook, they have everything exactly presented how they're going to say it. They're going to cover everything, and Elon gets up there and he's a visionary. He looks forward, not just right in front of you. And so when people don't have their answers, they think that he's not covering things or he doesn't have these things planned out. And that probably isn't even at half the time or 3/4 of the time, where he just didn't bring it up or cover it, and then people get all worked up thinking that he's not taking care of the issues that they need to answer the questions to make everybody happy.
Thank you, Yoda.
Yeah, I think the previous speaker that was doubting had a really great question. And I think the question of why doesn't Tesla or Elon just give us a date, when, which month in 2025, is because they don't actually know. This is because AI capabilities, which is the way FSD is done, is emergent, right? The capability comes to life when you've done enough training, you've got enough data, you've got the technical inference capability in a car. And so there is no exact date that you can pinpoint. But it is definitely getting very close if you are a FSD user and you can see the progression, the step changes from 11, the 12 series, and then soon in October, version 13. And I think once again, this is the largest information arbitrage from an investor perspective. And I'm really glad that for those who are interested in doing their own research, you could go out and book a demo every month and track the progress. You could lease a vehicle and track the progress.
Thank you very much, Yoda. If there was anyone in the audience at the event last night, please request to speak and share your takeaways. We would love to get some behind the scenes insight into what happened last night in Los Angeles. Edward, go ahead.
Yeah, I was watching Omar's video, super epic, of him taking his first Cybercab ride and, his emotions and everything behind it. And I was realizing that this is happening to me like every single day. When I Uber people around, like dozens of people every day, and I'm like, hey, my robot's driving you around, they flip out. They're like, oh my gosh, you mean you're not steering, you're not braking, you're not accelerating? I'm like, no, 100% cars doing it. I'm just watching to make sure we're safe. And they're flipped out. And I think people don't realize everybody wants the car that nobody's driving in. People don't want the Uber. They don't want the Lyft. They want their own car they can get into. It's super important. And I think people just don't understand that. Omar does.
Thank you, Edward. Omar?
You know, it all just comes down to whether you believe it or not. If you don't like Elon or you don't believe him or you think, oh, this is never going to happen, then it's just some guy just, BSing on stage, right? But if you realize that, okay, this person actually has the power to make this vision a reality, he's not just making this up. This is what the team actually sees. I mean, a vehicle that's a dedicated vehicle without a steering wheel or pedals that you can sit in, without a driver, and with the big trunk, this giant autonomous van, they're really, and they've kind of done this with the Cybertruck a little bit too, remaking the way the roads look. And their vision for robotics, I mean, we're looking at the emergence of maybe the biggest market since the personal computer and the smartphone, and it's going to be much bigger than those. When you think about, okay, $20,000-$30,000 for each one of these units, and what's the demand? How many billions of units in aggregate demand? um you can kind of just brush it off and say, oh, that's never going to happen, I don't like Elon. But I mean, just look at this product. It's dramatically better than any Uber you've ever been in. There's no driver. You've got tons of space to yourself, a giant screen. You can control everything from the app. You can watch movies. You can have time back. This is the most ambitious vision of any tech company in the Mag 7. What's Apple's vision for the future? Everyone's wearing a Vision Pro. What's Google's vision for the future? Right? I mean, this is a vision to transform the world, and they're actually delivering on it. They're shipping incremental progress along the way, and anyone can go start using it. I met tons of people last night who are just diehard FSD users.
Thank you very much, Omar. We have a good comment. Real Zertech in YouTube live chat is announcing that Starlink just tweeted free subscription for everyone in the hurricane affected areas until the end of the year. This is incredible, and it's also a very underestimated, underappreciated aspect of Elon Musk. He's always there at the time of need. Open up superchargers, open up the Starlink access. It blows my mind that there are people out there who talk negatively about this guy when he's doing a million times more than those haters combined ever have for humanity. Let's go to Learn Code. Learn Code has been very patiently waiting to ask his question. Learn Code, go ahead.
Was that Lauren Carmichael you were looking
No,
for?
Learn Code, go ahead. Yeah.
Can you hear me? My question is, Elon mentioned overfitting Robotaxi for this geofenced area. Obviously, we know FSD isn't ready yet. So how much would this overfitting and geofencing really make like today's FSD better?
I don't think you mentioned any geofencing or overfitting.
Well, he said it would only be in California and Texas, in some area in California and Texas. I assumed it was
Well,
like
the regulation of autonomous vehicles is right now handled at the state level. So you have to file for permits with each state. So that's probably why he said California and Texas. But he didn't necessarily mention any geofencing or intentional overfitting. I mean, obviously, you could probably train models that are specific to those areas. It would probably be a little easier than trying to ship a model that works anywhere. But you may be making some assumptions there with him saying California and Texas.
Okay, I'll have to double check because I could have sworn he said overfitting, but I'll
okay,
go
double
back
check on that.
No, he didn't say overfitting.
Thank you.
He would never use that term.
Yeah. Small X and then Neil.
Yeah, I think to further build upon Omar's inside information comments, like the single most important thing you can do if you're a real Tesla investor and you really believe in this program is to drive FSD every single day. When I first invested, I just went on and bought a used Tesla with FSD included. They almost give it to you for free, the FSD component. You can be driving one of these things around for $200 or $300 a month and see the progress yourself. You have to see this to believe what it can do. Watching videos is one thing, but just do yourself a favor. If you've got even 10 grand in Tesla stock, buy a Tesla, drive FSD every day, watch the progress. I've had it for many versions, and to see the progress that they're making it takes away all doubt. And I think it's a great thing for your mental health
Okay.
to
Thank
see
you.
this. Yeah.
Omar?
Yeah, so I went to the event and
Omar, please continue. New speakers, please raise your hands. I'll wait for him to call on you.
so I went to the event with Lincoln and his fiance and some other friends, and they didn't have tickets, and they found a way to make fake tickets from people who didn't go. And so they got into the event, and Lincoln proposed to his girlfriend there at the event at Warner, and they got engaged. And so we're driving home, and we're driving home in the Cybertruck on FSD, and everybody's talking and laughing. And Lincoln said, "Wait a minute, has the Cybertruck been on FSD this entire time? It just completely drove us home from the event without any interventions." He said, "Man, it feels just like that event where we were sitting in those cars without a driver. Everyone who was there, they took a driverless ride for the first time. And then we had our Cybertruck take us home without any intervention." And he said, "Man, it's just as smooth as what we experienced there at that event here on the real roads." That's what people are missing. This is the one company that has actually delivered this into the real world, that actually does those drives for us. And it's so easy to dismiss it and say, this guy's just a bullshitter if you don't use the software. If you're actually using this to get around, if you have been saved from the hell of LA traffic by these autopilot engineers, then you know that this is not just something to dismiss. When they show off these new vehicles, this is going to be a real thing. It may not be exactly when they hope to ship it, but they are going to make this real, and I can't wait to buy one.
Thank you. New speakers, please stay on mute, raise your hand, and wait for me to call on you, or I will remove you from the speaker board. Lauren, then Machine.
Hey, I was curious what people thought of Elon's comment that the car wouldn't have a charge plug in it. That was the one part of the presentation I just can't get my heads around. I feel like,
Thank you, Lauren.
how could
Your
you be in a
question, your
house?
connection is really bad. Okay, Omar, what do you think about the comments around charging?
Wireless charging is a huge, huge leap forward for EV user experience. And I mean, a car you don't have to plug in to charge. This is, I think, really an important step for EVs in general. And I think we're going to see this beyond just the Cybercab. I think we're going to see it become an industry standard. You have seen SAE official sort of standard around it. So this is super, super exciting. And when you have Tesla, the 800-pound gorilla in the room of EVs, endorsing wireless charging, say, hey, we're going to do our own pad, put it in our vehicles, this sort of kickstarts the sort of chicken and egg problem with wireless charging. And I think it's a big step forward for the EV industry in general. Elon even said on stage, we probably should have done this years ago.
Thank you, Omar. Machine.
On that note, it's another reason why we're going to be quite a while until we're making money on this thing. Currently, there are no wireless charging areas for these robotaxis. To build this out in a city, suburban area, let alone 50 cities, it's going to be quite a build out. It's going to take years, and they have years. So, 4 years from now, maybe we'll start seeing something relevant. But I see in the meantime a much bigger risk here as everyone is spouting off on this outward optimism. The risk is the election.
You know,
If
Machine, I
Kamala
want to,
Harris wins,
sorry, I
don't
want
interrupt
to,
me. Don't
sorry,
interrupt.
I will interrupt you because you're misrepresenting this space. This space welcomes bulls and bears alike. We have you on the board. Okay, you are one of the biggest bears out there on Tesla. You're not even investing in the stock. Matthew's out here, who is a former cruise engineer, who's very skeptical about Tesla vision only approach. So don't misrepresent this space, please. This space welcomes bulls and bears. You want to make your joke about election?
This is not a joke. This is very serious. If Kamala Harris wins, we know she's going to go after Musk, and it's going to be a detriment to the company. If Donald Trump wins, he's going to rescind the EV tax credit, let alone do other things for his oil lobbies. It's going to also be bad for Tesla. Either way, Tesla's going to get screwed. And that's a serious risk. And you guys are over here waiting for your stock to appreciate because Robotaxi. There's nothing else.
If Kamala Harris is president, I think Tesla will do very well. You know, she's from the Bay Area. If Donald Trump's president, I think Tesla will do very well. I mean, you look at the vision we saw last night, it's really not going to matter who's president. And I don't think Kamala Harris is going to necessarily be focused on being vindictive. If there's anything this election cycle has showed, it's what a horrible mistake it was for the Democrats to pick a fight with Elon. I mean, they had this election in the bag otherwise. This Elon acquisition of X and his support of Trump has, I think, been an enormous help to the Republicans. So if I were Kamala and I were elected, the first thing I would do is call Elon Musk and say, Elon, there's a new president in the White House. I may not agree with you on everything, but you are one of this country's most important innovators. You're a federal contractor delivering essential services at a fraction of the price. Your Starlink technology is a crucial national security asset and has been a huge help in disasters. Your Tesla vehicles are some of the most advanced in the world. They're reviving American manufacturing. And I respect you, right? I may want to raise your taxes or something, but we need to be working together. I, as the president of the United States, need to be on good terms with you. And I am not Joe Biden. I am not going to screw you over to make my union buddies a little more rich.
Well said. If you're liking what you're hearing, go up to the top of our screens, click through to the YouTube link and like the video. It helps us reach new speakers and keeps this conversation going. Only takes 2 seconds and really helps us out. We are limited right now on YouTube channel by the number of subscribers. Really appreciate new subscribers. Thank you, everybody. We have more hands I see. Let's give some new speakers, fresh voice, bring some fresh ideas into the space. Let's go to Terrence. Terrence, go ahead.
Hey guys, yeah. So I was at the event last night. I'm actually heading back to Pensacola today. And I'll tell you, a lot of us that were standing in line trying to get the autonomous ride, many of us already have Teslas that, you know, have FSD. And quite a few people were actually just waiting to get into the Robotaxi because we already have our cars driving us around autonomously. And they were near the end, so it's about 11 o'clock. They had a lot of Model Ys pulling up and nobody wanted to get into them because you know what? We do that every day. We just wanted to go see what the new Robotaxi looked like. And it was just an incredible experience to be in that vehicle where there is no steering wheel, no pedals, and a huge screen that I could definitely see would be an incredible thing for folks that's doing taxi rides within a city. And then the one thing I know a speaker asked about was, you know, they're talking about overbilling or anything like that. But what Elon talked about is that he's looking at for the future of the Robotaxi of adding a lot more compute power to it so that when the vehicle is not being treat that the way they have. That's what he was talking about, you know, in the AI 5 type system where on the Robotaxi, they would put extra oomph in there so that they have extra compute that can be tapped in for other purposes. But yeah, the event was just
Thank you,
absolutely
Terrence.
incredible.
I want to summarize one thing that Terrence said, which is something Omar said earlier, and I think it's very important for investors. Terrence said there are a lot of people waiting in line to get into Cybercab. And even though a Model Y would pull up, they would not get into the Model Y. They wanted to wait for the Cybercab. I think this has implications for the future of Tesla's sales and how you should model revenues and how important the Cybercab is as well. So this is good insight. Thank you very much, Terrence. I always welcome people who were there to share their unique insight, behind the scenes insight that we didn't get a chance to see. Most of us in this space didn't get a chance to see. But thank you very much, Terrence, for coming up. Let's go to Uzi and then Knox.
Well, just on that point about getting in the Robotaxi instead of the Model Y, that might be anecdotal. So I'll walk that back. But I do think for charging, you know, the Hollywood Diner might be the first place you get wireless charging. My question, though, that I've been holding on to for a little bit is, did anyone say, you know, any peeps about V13? Because that's what we really care about, getting to full autonomy.
Omar, when do you think Tesla will roll out the V13?
Well, it's scheduled for October. They did hit all the items on their roadmap for September. So, given that there are fewer items in October, I would expect V13 to ship around Halloween.
Great. Thank you very much, Omar. Let's go to Ruben. Ruben, go ahead.
Hey, Yaman, it's Ruben. Yeah, I was one of the fortunate ones to be able to get to go as well. I live actually locally, so I'm about 20 minutes away in the city over at Universal Studio City. It was an amazing event. It was the first time I've ever been to one. I've been a long time shareholder, and I was lucky enough to go. Just meeting people from around the world and people from Hong Kong and all over the place, just to come over and take the trip to be there, it was just kind of eye-opening for me, and just really high-level, intelligent conversations. And you know, I was able to kind of share my story around Tesla, which I can't necessarily talk about today because of the business I'm in. But it was just amazing to be there. I did not get a chance to do a ride, only because it was the group that I was in was just kind of later. They let all the VIPs go first. But you know, I don't have a Tesla. I have family members that do. I don't necessarily drive a lot, but I was just really impressed by the event, and it was just really well done. So what I do want to ask Omar is, on, you know, Elon kind of talked at the last earnings result about the ability to kind of create an AWS cloud compute across the entire fleet network. And I thought he was going to kind of talk about it last night when he talked about that the compute in the cars are not being leveraged. And and I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that service, that the cloud computing capability that might be offered. I mean, do you think that that's something that is an opportunity in the future?
It's an idea. You know, it's an interesting idea. There could be something there. I think he mentioned that they're going to over-spec the vehicles. And he said, well, maybe we can rent some of that compute. Whether you could establish some sort of market there, I mean, I'm sure there are some things you could use that inference compute for, you know, batch processing, whatever, when the car isn't driving. But I mean, I think it makes sense to overspec the vehicle just from the sense that you may want to run an even larger model over time than what you're training when the Cybercab first ships. So making AI5 very powerful and making it able to handle much more inference compute than it even needs to drive the car probably just makes sense. And then you can also use it for some type of
cars? Why doesn't your PlayStation or Xbox or your cell phone or your MacBook, it's just sitting there with idle compute? Why doesn't the world use that? Why do we need the Tesla car specifically to create this market and this business model? So overall, I think it's an interesting idea to think about. A lot of people wonder, like, hey, we've got idle computers. Can we use them? Can we get value from them? But the reality is that idle computers and idle compute power is not the constraining factor for most of the world that's doing sort of high throughput processing.
Thank you, Matthew. Omar, anything to respond there?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the networking on this thing, if you're doing it over cellular, is not going to be great compared to being in a data center. But there are probably many types of use cases you can handle. Of course, networking technology, cellular technology, Starlink continues to advance. Um, but there are probably some jobs, some sort of batch processing jobs where you don't need a response right away, where it could download it, execute it in a fault tolerant way. If one of the cars isn't able to complete the job, it gets dispatched to another car. If, let's say, there's some network issue or something like that. So, why don't we have our PlayStations or our cars? I mean, people have done projects like SETI at home or Folding at home where they try and use compute for different things. But the difference here would really be that these chips, these Tesla AI chips, have a lot of hardware accelerated inference compute. It's far more powerful for inferencing a model than obviously a CPU or even most GPUs. And future versions of the chip that Pete Bannon and his team are designing are going to be even more powerful. So, sort of leveraging that, over-speccing it, but then also giving the owner an opportunity to monetize their car even when it isn't driving and receive a share of that revenue. I mean, it's an idea at this point. It's nothing more than an idea, but it is kind of an interesting one that you could use this computer even when it's not driving to do other useful things.
Thank you. There's a lot of great comments in the replies and YouTube live chats. For those of you who are listening, I highly encourage you to go through the replies, reply to each other, and because I can't get to all of them. For example, one of them, Steve says, it's not about using the computer because you need compute. It's about extracting maximum value out of a product that is currently not in use, but useful. Thank you, Steve. Romy Ree, and then Neil.
Hey guys, I was at the event last night as well. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys spoke to this already, but do you have thoughts on what type of material they have on the Robotaxi?
Thank
I
you.
did ask one of.
Thank you. Your sound quality is really bad. So, Omar, what was the material that is on the Cybercab? Is it stainless steel? Is it steel? Is it aluminum? Is it carbon fiber? What was it?
I don't know what exactly it was, but it looked like a Cybertruck. So whether that's stainless steel or just aluminum that is colorized the same way, I'm not really sure. But it kind of looks like a Cybertruck.
Okay, if anybody has special insight into this, please leave a reply or come up, request to speak.
I can fill in here.
Yeah, Ryan, go jump in.
Yeah, I was told that it was aluminum on the cyber car, the cyber taxi, cyber cab. I missed it, but yes, that was aluminum.
Okay, Ryan, thank you very much. And Westic said the same in YouTube live chat earlier. So that's two people who were at the event saying aluminum for the Cybercab body. Thank you very much, Ryan. Thanks for being here. Neil, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, we were talking about lease of compute earlier, right? Like, hey, we're going to use your car, we're going to use your game console, we're going to use your PC, your laptop, right, to just do other things. And ultimately, that seems kind of nefarious. But if they offer you some free services and you're quick enough to accept that license agreement, we might just all sign up for it, right? So I think this is an area of concern, right? We may be giving away the compute that we own unwillingly. The only good thing I think is that we have language models to run these agreements through and try and figure out what's going on. But I think that's a concern, right? Like this compute may be taken from us just like currency or anything else, right?
Thank you. Knox, go ahead.
Hey, a couple quick points. I'll make it fast. I know you're on a tight ship. If they only announced FSD next year and the existing fleet were the only cars on that lot, it would have been huge in the market today. I appreciate that they're showing all of their new cars and their excitement and they're like thinking about the future, but I think that's what the market is like kind of up in arms about. But I also disagree about parking lots. I think people travel all at the same time in the morning and at night, all at the same time, all in cars. And then they all have to charge in between that. So they're going to be sitting around idly. Of course, yes, like people travel, but that's an important point. And the Robovan, I wanted to know, did anyone have a sense of if the seats can spin around to all spin at the front? And did you tell in the floor if they can easily pull out?
I can also comment on that. I actually had a chance to interview Franz in the Robovan, and in the vehicle that we were actually in, those changes were not like seemingly possible. Like there was a slot design, but it didn't seem like it was an active slot. The vehicle as it was there was not reconfigurable by a consumer, nor were the chairs motorized. However, I talked to Franz about it. He's basically implied that it was configurable. It would be configurable. So I think we're just looking at a very early prototype of how they see it being. And it's unclear if they will spin or if it'll be more like an add a seat to remove a seat kind of situations.
Okay, I couldn't quite hear that. Omar, did you get the gist of that? Omar's having issues. Uzi?
From what I gathered, the Robovan is configurable, but not the seats won't spin.
Okay, thank you. Uzi, did you have a question?
Yeah, so the previous speaker brought up something about what Wall Street was missing. I think what they're chiefly missing is the potential for a platform, both with the Cybercab as an entertainment. I think they both might be entertainment platforms. The Cybercab with the large screen and building on top of that, and then the Robovan, like we talked about yesterday, being more than a 10-seater, or it was a 20, able to fit multiple people on the go. I think the platform is really the question. I think once the technology is there to drive unsupervised, then Wall Street will recognize the potential.
Thank you, Uzi. We have a good reply from TechAU. TechAU, I'll post this at the top of our screens. A screenshot from Eric Tesla, a principal engineer, lead engineer of Robotaxi. Small correction. Exterior panels are not stainless steel. Mass and cost of stainless steel is undesirable on our high efficiency Robotaxi. Thank you, TechAU, for bringing this up. I love Tesla Live. Tesla Live has incredible speakers, incredible listeners. We're all working together towards a better understanding of the company and the future. Neil, go ahead.
Yeah, and just speaking about the Cybercab wheels and those covers, they looked absolutely fantastic. But I was like, okay, you hit a pothole with those. If it's a metal cap, it's going to puncture the tire, right? If it goes wrong, if it's plastic, I don't know, maybe it will still too. So my question to the board and to everyone else is, I could take this as a coffee bet. What are the chances those wheels make it to production? I don't know.
Omar?
Well, first I want to say about the Robovan. I want to say Robovan, but it's so fun to say Robovan. So, the Robovan is totally customizable. We did actually, some of our group got a chance to sit inside the Robovan. Sawyer ran into Lars and he was asking him some questions and he said, "Well, would you like to sit in it?" And they just kind of lifted up the thing and they got inside. And Lincoln and the others got inside too. They said the seats are really comfortable. But the whole thing with this vehicle is that it can be completely customized. You can customize the interior with anywhere from 14 to 22 seats. You can make it like a bar or like a restaurant. You can make it a school bus. There's so many different configurations of this vehicle. So the takeaway that I think people should really have here is Tesla is vertically integrated. They are now at a place with their software where they are designing vehicles without manual driving controls, and they are able to purpose build them for pretty much any autonomous use case you can think of. This is just a power that other self-driving companies that focus on retrofitting other car makers' cars don't have. They're not designing everything from the top to bottom like this. They're not designing their own vehicles without controls that were never designed to be manually driven. They were designed specifically for an autonomous future. People don't get the importance of this yet, but they're thinking, I think several steps ahead of the public on this. People still don't really believe autonomy is real. They know, look, based on what we're seeing, we need to get started on this now. Because when this thing gets into production in 2026 or 2027, we're already going to have had unsupervised cars on the road, maybe even for a year or so, right? So, you may roll your eyes and say, oh, a vehicle without controls. We need a vehicle without controls to be designed. And, some people say, well, why unveil it? Well, it gets kind of hard if you have to cover them up all the time. Did you see that ridiculous yellow thing they had to put on it? Now they can just drive it around. They can keep testing it. We've already seen it. So you don't want it to be revealed by Ryan taking a picture, outside Fremont. You want to reveal it at the event, and then Ryan can take all the
Hey,
pictures he wants.
All right. This is great. We are almost on the 3rd hour mark of this space. This is a special episode 200. Thank you very much to our sponsors, Joa and Paymore, for fueling this space. And also our speakers, our members on YouTube, subscribers on X. This is an excellent community effort for an incredible space. I'm really loving what I'm hearing. We're at 432 likes on YouTube. If we get to 500, we're gonna keep it going. Otherwise, we're gonna wrap this up in a few minutes. We have a number of people who are at the event. I would love to get to 500 likes. If you're listening on X right now, go to the YouTube channel through the link at the top of your screens and give it a like. It really helps push the space out to new speakers and keep this conversation going. Let's go to Knox. Knox, go ahead, and then Amped Up.
Hey, I wanted to get your opinion on the inductive charging. And by the time the vehicle comes out, I'm assuming that some people may purchase it as personal use too. So if it doesn't have a plug, I mean, do you keep the mat in the trunk and then you plug it into somebody's wall? And do you think that they'll add a plug in the end so you have the option of it? And then also just a fun fact, why not train Optimus to unplug and plug in at a couple locations?
I mean, do we know that it's not going to have a plug? I feel like they'll probably have to put a plug
I,
on it, right?
I'm almost positive he said those words. It will not have a plug on it. I can double
correct.
check. I thought he said that.
Elon did say during the event that it would not have a plug. While I think it will end up having a plug, Elon said at least it does not have a plug. It will be wireless charging.
I think it's actually kind of smart if you think about it. Obviously, there's an expense that goes with it, but it can go drive to one of these stations itself if you don't have one nearby. And then it forces a build out of wireless chargers. So maybe that's kind of why they're saying it. They're trying to create a market for wireless charging. But at the same time, I feel like maybe they should just put an NACS port on it. It might be nice, but really you want it to be fully autonomous. You don't want a human involved in even plugging it in.
Very good. Amped Up.
Did the Cybercab have a frunk and a sub trunk?
I don't know if it has a frunk. It does have a very big trunk.
Yeah, the pictures of the trunk is huge. It's gonna fit a lot of luggage in there for airport rides and stuff. I'm really excited for this hardware. Let's go to Amped Up just spoke Alejandro.
Okay. My question was maybe this was answered. The robot was remotely operated or not? And the other thing, the stainless steel was counted out of the car, but I hear people saying plastic. Do you know what material is it gonna be? That's it.
Ryan said earlier there's going to be aluminum. That he was told that the Cybercabs at the event were made from aluminum. Ryan, would you like to confirm that again?
Yes, just that it was aluminum. I mean, I also felt it, but it was confirmed that it was aluminum for the primary material of the body.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Leander, for the question. This question I've been getting quite a bit. And Omar, would you like to comment on Leander's this first part, whether the Optimus was operated teleoperated?
Yeah, the stainless. I mean, aluminum. I think is obviously a good choice for the Cybercab, just based on the cost and the strength. In terms of the Optimus that they had walking around in the crowd and talking to people, I feel like they had to be teleoperated almost, 99%. They didn't really mention this, but obviously having an autonomous model walking around a crowd of people, you could easily risk, it slapping someone in the face, it falling over. They are obviously developing autonomous models to allow it to do things without a human teleoperating it. But for the ones in the crowd, I think it's felt. I mean, the way that it was talking didn't feel like any AI model I've ever heard. I suppose it could have been, but it seemed like there was a human with some type of VR motion capture suit where essentially they move their arm and it moves their arm and they're sort of able to talk through it. Then they had this sort of gazebo where there were a bunch of Tesla bots dancing. I imagine that was kind of a pre-programmed dance routine that they were running. That wasn't necessarily teleoperation, but yeah, I think really it was a showcase of the hardware. I don't think it necessarily would be safe at this point to have the model just walk around a crowd in a party like that. And actually, one of the Optimists did fall, and one of my friends saw it, and they kind of had to distract everyone or something, and quickly picked it up. And he said he felt sad seeing the Optimus fall and get carried away. He was worried if it was hurt, but the technology. There's a reason they're not selling these things yet, right? It doesn't actually have an AI model that can walk around a crowd safely on its own yet.
And then I'll just
Matthew.
add to that. I'll just add to that briefly. Sorry, just that also the voices of different Optimuses were different. The speech patterns were slightly different as well. So I intentionally tried to hear different ones. And yeah, at least from the voice perspective, it did not seem consistent enough to be an AI model.
Thank you, Matthew.
Oh, I didn't really have
Yeah, so I
anything to
did.
say on this. Oh, wrong, Matthew. Sorry.
Sorry, my
Yeah, I
bad.
did ask the question about if the bots were autonomous. I was told they were semi-autonomous. They didn't go into too much detail, but I interacted with about 5 of the bots and asked some repeating questions, and some are, often they would answer with the same answer, and that felt like they were autonomous. But then other things felt like a teleoperator was taking over. And you can ask, there's the main dance gazebo where they had, I don't know, a half dozen Optimus bots dancing there, but you could ask the bots to do a dance.
Which, by the way, was insane to see in person.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing 40 of them cruising around the place was insane to see.
Thank you, Matthew, for being here. We now had more than a handful of people who came up and shared their insights at the event, behind the scenes to the event. For those of us, thousands of people who listened to this space so far in the last 3 hours, got to hear from it. It's just like we were there. Thank you, Omar, for sharing your insights, and Matthew and Ryan and everybody else, West Hicks. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Let's go to AR. AR, go ahead, and then Alex Cruz.
Yeah, I question about the Robovan posting that in order to start a ride-hailing business, the reason they unveiled that was that you're required to have an ADA compliant vehicle. Is that true? I don't think Waymo has ride vehicles for disabled people.
Okay, AR, your connection is really bad. Omar, did you get the gist of it? Or Matthew?
Yeah, he asked if it was necessary for compliance. I mean, you can make any vehicle wheelchair accessible. You just kind of remove one of the seats. So I think this is a great solution for wheelchairs. You can kind of wheel right in. They showed that on their press gallery. But the existing vehicles could also be made wheelchair accessible as well, I think. The Cybercab probably is not going to be wheelchair accessible, but the Robovan definitely will be.
All right, we're going to wrap this up in 5 minutes, guys. Quick questions. Matthew.
Yeah, I just have a funny story about the Robovan. So I was standing very close to Kimball, and when Elon kept calling it the Robovan, and when he was saying that at first, people didn't really get that it meant Robovan, and then Kimball started making fun of his brother, just like a little brother would make fun of his big brother, and saying how silly it was for Elon to call it a Robovan. And it was just very funny to
Thank you.
see the brother you
Matt,
love.
quick question. Matt, quick question.
Hey, yeah, I was at the event and I posted a full video of getting into the cybercab, and I know it's phenomenal event. One comment about the charging mat: you can always have a female plug and use for home use, at least use your existing charger and have the port attached to the mat. So that's one solution.
Thank you, Omar.
Yeah, I really think wireless charging may actually be the future. You may not have wired EV plugs. I think all vehicles are going to adopt wireless charging. We're all going to have a wireless charging pad in our garage. You'll start seeing them in retail locations. They'll be comparable with wired charging. You won't have to plug it in or out. You just drive in and out. Don't have to stop to plug it in. Don't have to deal with any complicated payment flow. It has the potential to revolutionize the user experience of EVs. Longer term, you could even have roads where you're stopped at a red light and it's charging you and billing you for the charge. You could have robotaxis that can just run infinitely, charging, off the road while they're driving in certain metropolitan areas that support that. So I really think wireless is the future, and we may move into a future where
Thank you. This is all the time we have today. I would really appreciate it if people on their way out, please go to the top of your screens, click on that YouTube link, and hit that like button. It helps us reach new viewers, grow the YouTube channel, which finances in ads revenue. This space keeps it free and open for everybody. This was a great conversation. If you could take 2 seconds to do that on your way. Thank you very much, everybody. I will chat with you next time.